Chapter 45. Mother Lin was so angry that her chest was about to explode. Being slapped in front of everyone by Qin Ning, she could still endure this anger because Qin Ning's status was still the princess. But if she was slapped by a maid today, then the face she had maintained in this king's palace for so many years would be completely lost. Xia He was stared at by her and her raised hand did not dare to fall. Xia He, give her a good beating. Even if you poke a hole in the sky today, this princess will support you. Qin Ning suddenly gave a loud shout, her aura was very threatening. Xia He's courage was instantly filled. She looked at Qin Ning with eyes filled with worship. With the princess consort's words, what else wouldn't she dare do? Her raised hand fell down without any hesitation. Paw! Everyone was stunned by her slap. My God, this little girl's courage had grown, she really dared to hit her. She didn't even open her eyes to look. Who did she hit? It was Mother Lin. The Mother Lin that could make the entire King Ding Yuan's palace tremble with a single stomp of her foot. Mother Lin's eyes seemed like they were about to spit fire as she fiercely stared at Xia He. Xia He threw caution to the wind. Since she had already hit Mother Lin, she might as well go all out. She slapped Mother Lin a dozen times in a row. Her heart was filled with joy. Mother Lin and her subordinates had been tyrannical in the king's palace for so many years. Which servant had not been scolded and beaten by them? Not to mention Xia He, even her parents had been called over by Mother Lin and the others. They would reach out and scold them like they were her grandchildren. Now she could finally vent the anger that she had been holding in for so many years. Her hands were not as strong as Qin Ning's. These dozen slaps added together were not as heavy as Qin Ning's 2 slaps. But Mother Lin was so ashamed that she wanted to dig a hole in the ground so she could hide in it. This was too shameful. She was the dignified steward of the king's palace and she had actually been slapped by a maid in front of everyone. She could endure this pain, but she could not lose this face. Stupid girl, just you wait. Mother Lin was scolding Xia He, but she had a fierce look on her face as she stared at Qin Ning. She wanted to poke a hole in Qin Ning's face. Of course she knew that the reason why Xia He dared to hit her was because of Qin Ning's support. It seems like Mother Lin still hasn't learned the rules. Xia He, continue to hit this princess. When she learns the rules, then you can stop. Qin Ning saw Mother Lin's expression and she couldn't help revealing a faint smile. Not satisfied. Then she would beat her until she's satisfied. Her method to deal with this kind was very simple, but it was very effective. Mother Lin's eyes were filled with fear. Ning's eyes. Mother Lin was truly afraid this time. She couldn't help revealing a look of fear as she looked at Qin Ning. Of mother of Ning of. She to say, Qin Lin to was to say, she was not to. Of Qin of that she of. Ning to the said to strong of the two of the strong. She had met Qin Ning who did not care about her life, so she had no choice but to accept it. Princess consort, this old servant knows her wrongs. I ask the princess consort to forgive this old servant this time. This old servant already knows the rules and will not dare offend the princess consort in the future. Mother Lin finally opened her mouth and lowered her head in shame. Princess, this old servant knows her mistake. I ask the princess to forgive this old servant this time. This old servant already knows the rules and will not dare offend the princess in the future. Mother Lin finally opened her mouth. Her face was filled with shame as she lowered her head to admit her mistake. Chapter 46. Lin, Mother Lin, this little slut sent people to slap your face and you're still apologizing to her. You don't need to be afraid of this little slut. Just wait for this servant to tell His Highness and His Highness will definitely kill this little slut for you. The one who spoke was maidservant Feng. She arrogantly shouted as she ran out the door. Idiot. Stupid. Mother Lin kept cursing in her heart. Why didn't she find out that maidservant Feng was this stupid before? She had always treated her as her confidant. What kind of time was this? Even she had to admit her mistakes in front of Qin Ning, but this maidservant Feng still didn't understand the situation. Was she trying to kill her? Maidservant Feng, stop. Her face sunk as she shouted. Maidservant Feng hesitated for a bit, but she still stopped and turned around. Kneel down for me and kowtow to the princess. Mother Lin sternly said. Maidservant Feng's body trembled and her eyes popped out in disbelief. What are you looking at? Why aren't you kneeling down for me? Mother Lin sternly shouted again. Mother Lin, this little slut. What is this? It's so smelly. Oh. Maidservant Feng's mouth was still dirty, but she suddenly felt like there was something else in her mouth. It was smelly and fishy, making her vomit it out with a wah sound. She heard a few ga sounds as several crows flew over her head. Maidservant Feng almost vomited out her bile. She thought to herself, why am I so unlucky? Why did the crow's poop fall into my mouth just at the right time? When everyone saw her distressed appearance, they couldn't help secretly laughing. Xiao Ru, Chun Tao, and Xia He all had smiles on their faces. Chen Ning also pursed her lips into a smile. She thoughtfully looked around her. Maidservant Feng, do you think my words are just passing by? Why aren't you kneeling down and apologizing to the princess? You've spoken so rudely and offended your superiors. Slap yourself and heavily slap yourself. Mother Lin said in a stern voice. Her legs were sore from kneeling. She knew that if she didn't let Qin Ning vent her anger, even if her legs broke, she wouldn't be able to get up. Maidservant Feng did not dare disobey. She kneeled down in front of Qin Ning and with a crying face, she raised her hand to slap herself. If Qin Ning did not stop, she would keep slapping herself. Good slap. Xia He felt more relieved the more she watched. This maidservant Feng was Mother Lin's most hateful lackey. She had sores on her head and pus on the soles of her feet. Half a year ago, maidservant Feng had taken a fancy to her and wanted to betroth her to her crippled nephew. Naturally Xia He was not willing, so she had offended maidservant Feng. She had been sent to the dirtiest and most tiring place to work. It wasn't until a few days ago that her parents had given maidservant Feng a large sum of money that she was given to Qin Ning, the unfavored princess, as a maid. She had finally escaped the abyss of misery. Qin Ning just looked at maidservant Qin Ning, not telling her to stop. Maidservant Feng. Mother Lin's heart was filled with wonder. She looked around and shouted at the maids, what are you all standing there for? Why aren't you kneeling down and apologizing to the princess? The maids all kneeled down and began to kowtow to Qin Ning. They said in unison, these servants know their wrongs. We ask for the princess forgiveness. Qin Ning revealed a faint smile and nodded. Mother Lin is truly a smart person. You learned the rules very quickly and you can infer many things from one instance. Amazing, truly amazing. Chapter 47. Mother Lin was filled with hatred towards Qin Ning, but after seeing Qin Ning's methods, she couldn't help being secretly shocked. Who said that the Hugua Manor's young Miss Qin was an ignorant idiot? She had lived for most of her life and this was the first time she had seen such a powerful person. Especially when she was so young, she was truly young. Alright, you can all stop. Mother Lin has learned the rules and you have all learned the rules quite well. This princess is in a good mood today, so I won't hold you accountable for offending me. Qin Ning giggled as she raised her hand. Her goal had been achieved, so she did not continue to make things difficult for these maids. Not to mention, they were still useful to her. The maids all let out a sigh of relief and no longer kowtowed. Maidservant Feng also stopped slapping herself. In order to calm Chen Ning's anger, she had used a lot of strength when she slapped herself. Her monkey cheeks had turned red and round, making her look a lot more plump. The maids all looked at Maidservant Feng's face. They wanted to laugh, but they didn't dare. "Oh, Mother Lin, you're already so old, how can you kneel in front of me? Please stand up. This is your crutch, so you have to hold it properly. Don't let it fall into someone else's hands." Chen Ning smiled as she walked forward and personally reached out to help Mother Lin stand up. She placed the crutch in her hands and warmly helped her dust off her clothes. Her actions of going from arrogant to respectful made Mother Lin and the maids stunned. They stared at her in a daze, not knowing what kind of medicine Chen Ning was trying to sell. "Princess consort, this old servant doesn't dare. This old servant does not dare." Mother Lin leaned on her crutch with a face filled with fear. Her originally arrogant and despotic expression was swept away, and she became humble and submissive. Now that she saw Chen Ning smile, her heart began to beat fast. She was afraid that the other side would do something to her again. That would be hard for her to bear. "Mother Lin, you're the steward mother of the manor and I'm a newcomer. Today, you've condescended to come to my courtyard from so far away. What's the matter?" Chen Ning smiled as she helped Mother Lin sit on a stone bench. How could Mother Lin dare to sit? Her butt touched the stone bench and she immediately stood up. She bent over and when she heard Chen Ning's words, she couldn't help being stunned. She thought in her heart, wasn't the princess asking the obvious? But she didn't dare not answer. She respectfully said, reporting to the princess consort. "Because the princess consort secretly left the palace yesterday, this old servant has come under His Highness' orders to greet the princess consort. Now, even if she was 100 times more courage, she would not dare to mention the rules again." When Xiao Ru and the other two maidservants heard Mother Lin's reply, they couldn't hold back their laughter. Chen Ning nodded with a serious expression and said, "Mother Lin is truly a loyal steward of the king's palace, no wonder His Highness values you so much. The tasks His Highness gives you are not sloppy at all. Just asking for me, but there are so many people here. Very good, it's enough to show how much you value this princess. Moreover, your greetings to this princess are very warm, making this princess very satisfied." Her words made Mother Lin and the other maids' faces turn bright red. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. Chen Ning smiled and then said, "Mother Lin, now that you've greeted him, it's time to reply to His Highness. I wonder how you will report this matter to His Highness." Mother Lin was stunned. She couldn't help wondering what Chen Ning's words meant. Chapter 48. Reporting to the princess consort, this old servant will report to His Highness. After this old servant greeted the princess consort, she became seriously ill and will need to rest in bed. She won't be able to recover without resting for 10 days to half a month. Mother Lin guessed Chen Ning's intentions as she replied. Chen Ning nodded in satisfaction. Sure enough, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. She really was an old maid that had been in the king's palace for so many years. She knew what to do with just a nod. Dealing with smart people really saved a lot of effort. She smiled and said, "This kind of report is very good. Mother Lin is very capable, His Highness will definitely reward you. This old servant still has to thank the princess consort." Mother Lin's wrinkled face actually revealed a smile. The two of them spoke as if they were speaking in riddles, and the people around them were all confused by their conversation. But when they saw the princess and Mother Lin smiling at each other, as if they had turned from enemies to friends, they all let out a sigh of relief. Chen Ning slowly opened her mouth. "Mother Lin, we can be considered friends who don't fight. If this princess has offended you in any way, I hope Mother Lin will be magnanimous and not blame this princess." Mother Lin said with a face of fear, "This old servant doesn't dare, this old servant doesn't dare." She indeed didn't dare. She had only interacted with Qin Ning once and she knew that the other side was a strong person that she couldn't afford to offend. This kind of person, would she dare to offend her in the future? Xiao Ru, Chun Tao, Xia He. Qin Ning suddenly put away the smile on her face and revealed a serious expression. This servant is here. Regarding what happened today, you did not see or hear anything. Do you understand? If a single word were to be spread to the ears of outsiders, then don't blame this princess for being impolite. Qin Ning said in a serious tone. This servant doesn't dare. The three maids all kneeled down with a look of fear on their faces. Stand up. Qin Ning raised her hand. Her red lips slightly opened and she revealed a faint smile. Mother Lin, this princess will watch over the mouths of these three maids and definitely won't leak a single word of what happened today. You can be assured, you are still the steward of this palace. If anyone dares to be disrespectful to you, just send someone to tell this princess. This princess will definitely not forgive them. This time, Mother Lin was completely convinced. This princess consort really gave him a sweet date after giving him a slap. The others could not understand Qin Ning's words, but how could she not understand? Qin Ning's meaning was clearly telling her that as long as she obediently listened in the future, then the shameful matter of her being slapped in public today, other than the people present, no one else would know about it. She, Mother Lin, would still be the Mother Lin from before and the entire palace would still respect her like before. Although her face was still burning from the slap, the sweet date that Qin Ning gave her had calmed the anger in her heart. Princess consort, this old servant will remember the kindness you've shown this old servant. If you have any requests in the future, Princess consort only needs to send someone to tell me and this old servant will do his best. Mother Lin was filled with admiration and gratitude towards Qin Ning. She had lived for a long time, and the only thing she could not afford to lose was her old face. Now that she had Qin Ning's promise, it was like she had eaten a pill of peace. As for her old maids, they were all her confidants. She was not worried at all that they would tell others that she had been beaten, unless they didn't want to live anymore. Chapter 49. Seeing Mother Lin and the others come with such an aggressive aura, but return with their tails between their legs, Chun Tao and Xia He could not remain calm. Everything that had just happened was like a dream, it was too unreal. The way the two of them looked at Qin Ning was completely different. They both revealed the same expression as Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru saw their expressions and her heart filled with pride. She giggled and said, "Are you the same as me? Are you filled with admiration for my family's young miss?" Chun Tao and Xia He desperately nodded their heads. Their hearts were filled with surprise and joy. Originally, the two of them had been pushed aside and sent here to serve Qin Ning, this princess that had lost favor the moment she entered the palace. Their hearts were filled with resentment, but the princess consort's performance today was just too shocking. It made the two maids feel like they were looking up to her. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help revealing a smile on their faces. The princess consort had even taken down the hardest bone in the palace, Mother Lin. From now on, their days in the palace would be much better. Qin Ning's mood was also very good. She smiled and said, "It's early in the morning and we've been in a mess for a long time. We haven't even eaten breakfast yet, so this princess is very hungry right now. If there's anything good to eat, quickly bring it over for this princess." Chun Tao and Xia He agreed in unison. The two of them diligently ran back and forth, personally cooking. Not long later, they brought out a table full of delicacies. Qin Ning was very satisfied with the food. "Xia He, go find Mother Lin and ask for a token to leave the palace. Just say that this princess has been bored in the palace and wants to go out for a walk," Qin Ning said. She did not want to be like last time, crawling out of the dog hole. In the future, she wanted to openly enter the king's palace. Xia He agreed and left. After a while, she came back with a token in her hand. She respectfully presented it to Qin Ning. This token was not a normal thing and not everyone could have one. As far as she knew, there were only 3 of them in the entire king's palace. When she went to look for Mother Lin, the moment she opened her mouth, Mother Lin didn't hesitate to give her a command token, causing her to be speechless. It was the princess face that was bigger. Chun Tao, Xia He, I want to take Xiao Ru out of the palace for a walk. You two guard the gate, no matter who comes, don't let them in. Remember, this princess has been punished by Mother Lin and is currently recuperating. I won't see anyone, do you understand? The 2 maids replied in unison, but they had a confused look on their faces. The ones that were injured were clearly Mother Lin's group of people that came with the family rules. The princess consort was not injured at all, but why did the princess consort have to reverse the situation? Qin Ning smiled and did not explain. She returned to her room and changed her clothes. Holding the token, she brought Xiao Ru out the back door of the king's palace and onto the bustling main street. She only had one goal for leaving the palace this time, and that was to earn. There was only one reason for leaving the palace this time, and that was to earn money. If she wanted to live well in this era, the first thing. If she wanted to live a successful life in this era, the first thing she needed was money. Although she was the young miss of the Hugua Manor, looking at her 2 chests of extremely shabby dowry, even Chun Tao and Xia He, the 2 servant girls, did not even put them in their eyes. From the start, they were not worth much. The only thing that was valuable was the 2 jade bracelets. They were souvenirs left behind by the original owner's mother, so she was not willing to sell them. Chapter 50. After Chu Xiaoyang returned to the palace, he went straight to Qin Baiyun's intoxicated flower pavilion. His face was so dark that it seemed like it was about to drip water. When the servants in the palace saw him, they were all silent. They knew that His Highness' mood was very bad, so no one dared to come forward to greet him. Chu Xiaoyang was indeed filled with a stomach full of anger. After the court was dismissed, all of his colleagues congratulated him on having a son soon. He had to force a smile on his face in the face of everyone's mockery. He was about to explode from holding it in. All of this humiliation was given to him by his Princess Qin Ning. Just thinking about it made him want to kill someone. When Qin Baiyun saw his face filled with killing intent, she was shocked and quickly came forward to comfort him. Chu Xiaoyang sat down and gritted his teeth as he said, "Where's Mother Lin?" When Mother Lin heard that Chu Xiaoyang had returned, she immediately rushed over. Hearing His Highness call for her, she quickly came forward to report. Chu Xiaoyang looked up and looked at Mother Lin standing in the corridor. In a cold voice, he said, "How did it go?" Mother Lin bowed and replied, "Reporting to Your Highness, this old servant has followed Your Highness' orders and brought people to enforce the family rules on the princess. Now that the princess has been punished, she is lying on the bed unable to move. According to this old servant's estimates, it will take at least 10 days to half a month for her to recover. During this time, the princess cannot leave the palace." When Qin Baiyun heard this, she couldn't help revealing a disappointed look. She can't get out of bed for 10 days to half a month. Why didn't he beat her to death? She looked down, hiding the hatred in her eyes. Chu Xiaoyang felt like the stifled anger in his chest had finally been released. He hatefully said, "That cheap woman didn't die, it's actually letting her off easy." Towards Mother Lin's words, he did not doubt her at all. He waved his hand and said, "It's been hard on Mother Lin. You did a good job this time, go and receive your reward." Turning around, he saw that Qin Baiyun's eyes were red and she said with tears in her eyes, "Your Highness, elder sister causing a ruckus in the wedding hall and running away from the palace is all this concubine's fault. It is because this concubine loves Your Highness too much that I couldn't control myself. This concubine did not mean to steal Your Highness from elder sister, but elder sister's heavy injuries are all because of this concubine. This concubine's heart is not at ease, so I ask your highness to find the best doctor to treat elder sister's injuries and help elder sister recover as soon as possible. Otherwise, how can this concubine face elder sister? Her tears fell down as she sobbed. It was like a pear blossom in the rain, making Chu Xiaoyang feel pity and heartache for her. Chu Xiaoyang couldn't help pulling her into his embrace. Yunfer, your heart is just too good. She treated you like that, but you still think for her. This king likes a kind-hearted girl like you. A heartless elder sister like Qin Ning, it's better to just kill her. Once he mentioned Qin Ning, the gentleness in his eyes disappeared and was replaced with a ruthless look. Your Highness, no matter how many things she has done wrong to this concubine, she is still this concubine's elder sister, so this concubine will not blame my elder sister. Not to mention, this matter is really this concubine's fault. This concubine shouldn't have known that your Highness and elder sister were engaged, but to your Highness. Chen Baiyun's voice became softer and softer as she lowered her head in embarrassment. She knew that the more pitiful she was and the more she put the blame on herself, the more Chu Xiaoyang would love her and the more he would hate Qin Ning. Chapter 51. But, Your Highness. Chen Baiyun looked up. Her delicate and pitiful appearance made Chu Xiaoyang's heart skip a beat. She caused this king to lose face at the wedding yesterday. She couldn't even raise her head in front of her colleagues and almost harmed you and the child in your stomach. This king only sent Mother Lin to teach her a lesson and not take her life, which is already letting her off easy. You don't need to plead for her anymore. Moreover, this king has decided that whether she lives or dies, it will be up to the heavens. Chu Xiaoyang coldly ordered, someone, pass on this king's orders. No doctor is allowed to enter the palace to treat the princess. If anyone disobeys, they will be punished according to the family laws. Your Highness. Chen Baiyun's expression was anxious, but her heart was filled with pride. My good elder sister, Mother Lin's stick is not weak. Without a doctor to treat you, I want to see how long you can live. What Chen Baiyun did not know was that Qin Ning, who had been beaten until she couldn't move, had already left the king's palace. At this time, she was happily strolling through the streets of the capital city with Xiao Ru. The last time she left the palace, she had escaped, but this time she came out with the token in hand. Naturally, her mood was different from last time. Leaving the palace this time, she was dressed very simply. Xiao Ru had helped her put her hair into a bun and casually used a sandalwood hairpin to tie it up. She was wearing a plain gray short dress and she had specially applied a layer of ginger powder on her face, covering her beautiful face. Only her eyes were still clear and bright. In short, no one would take a second look at her if she walked on the streets. Low-key, she had to be low-key. Although Qin Ning came out to make money, she knew that being too eye-catching would not do her any good. She just wanted to silently make a fortune. Xiao Ru was already used to Qin Ning's strange actions. She knew that she would never be able to guess what the young miss was thinking, but as long as she stayed by the young miss' side, she would not suffer any losses. There were more people in a place with more business opportunities. Qin Ning naturally understood this. She brought Xiao Ru to a place with a lot of people. Not long later, they arrived at a bustling street. There were all kinds of stalls on both sides of the street. There were stalls selling jewelry, cosmetics, the four treasures of the study, sugar figurines, and monkey-wielding swords. Just looking at it made the two's eyes blur. The vendors were shouting out their wares and there was an endless stream of people walking by. Qin Ning's eyes suddenly lit up. That's it, it's here. She walked to a carpentry shop and spent 10 copper coins to rent a wooden table. She also borrowed a pen and paper from the shop owner. With a wave of the pen, she wrote 8 big words, Iron Mouth Divine Foresight, 100% accurate. As a micro-expression expert from the modern era, of course she had to make money with her skills. Xiao's expression expert from the modern era, of course she had to make money with her skills. She had never remembered that the young miss had learned fortune-telling. She thought to herself, is the young miss trying to make a living as a swindler? She had never remembered that the young miss had learned fortune-telling before. She whispered in her heart, the young miss wouldn't be thinking of becoming a swindler, right? Chen Ning anxiously scratched her ears and cheeks. It was like there was a thorn in her butt. After sitting down for a while, she stood up and looked around. She was very confused. The other stalls had quite a few people, but not a single person came to Chen Ning's stall. Xiaoru anxiously scratched her ears and cheeks. It was like there was a thorn in her butt. After sitting down for a while, she stood up and looked around. Chapter 52. Chen Ning just smiled the entire time. She was not anxious or impatient at all. They waited until the sky turned dark and the people in the market slowly dispersed. Many of the vendors had already packed up their stalls and left. She slowly stretched her waist and looked at Xiaoru. Girl, why do you have such a sad face? Xiaoru pursed her lips and touched her empty purse as she said, Young miss, you said you brought this servant out to earn money, but this servant hasn't seen a single copper coin. Instead, we've spent 10 copper coins in vain. We don't even have money to eat buns anymore. Chen Ning gave a laugh. She scratched Xiaoru's nose and said, Are you laughing at your young miss for not having the ability to earn money? Isn't it easy to earn money? Alright, then I'll show you my skills. Her eyes turned and fell onto a hurrying old man. She smiled at Xiaoru and said, Girl, our money for today's meal will depend on this person. Xiaoru followed Chen Ning's gaze and saw that it was an unfamiliar old man. She couldn't help shaking her head, not believing it at all. Chen Ning stood up and walked in front of the old man. She cupped her hands with a smile, Old uncle, you're blessed to have a child at such an old age. Congratulations, congratulations. The old man had a head full of white hair and was wearing a silk robe. He was around 50-60 years old and he was holding a basket in his hand. He was currently walking in a hurry, but he was suddenly stopped by Chen Ning. He couldn't help being stunned. When he saw that Chen Ning was an unfamiliar girl that was not even 20 years old, the old man's face revealed an impatient look. He gave a perfunctory nod to Chen Ning and said, Same to you, same to you. He walked past Chen Ning and continued forward, not even looking back. Xiaoru saw that the young miss had been given the cold shoulder. She was afraid that she would be sad, so she prepared to comfort Chen Ning. She saw the old man walk a few steps before suddenly turning around. He looked at Chen Ning and said in a doubtful voice, Little girl, we don't know each other, how did you know that I had a child at such an old age? Chen Ning smiled as she pointed at the 8 words on the table. She said with a smile, My family has an ancestral art of fortune-telling. There is no fortune-telling people's fortune that doesn't work. When I saw old uncle from afar, your forehead was glowing and your face was red. I calculated that you just gave birth to a fat boy this year. Isn't this a great fortune? The old man's eyes popped out and he had a face of disbelief. You're saying that you calculated this for me? Of course. Chen Ning smiled and nodded. The old man was filled with doubt as he looked over Chen Ning. No matter how he looked at her, she did not seem like an expert fortune teller. His impression of fortune tellers was that they all wore long robes, had long beards, and looked unfathomable. There was no way they would be like this young and smiling girl in front of him. Uncle, if you're willing to listen, why don't you sit down and let me read your fortune for you? I'll help you predict the future of your fat son. How about that? Chen Ning looked at the old man's face and saw the doubt in his eyes. She did not explain because the more she said, the more suspicious it would be. Her suggestion was what the old man was most concerned about. Which father in this world didn't want to know the fate of their precious son? The old man nodded without even thinking. All right. Then you can help this old man read it. Chapter 53. The old man put down the basket in his hand and sat down in front of the fortune-telling booth. Chen Ning handed over a pen and paper and said with a smile, "Old uncle, just write a word." The old man thought about it for a bit before writing the word success. He was worried that the other party would shoot his mouth off and say something unpleasant. That would be very unlucky, so he chose the word Ching. As the saying goes, one's wishes come true. She couldn't say anything bad about this word, could she? Who would have thought that when Chen Ning saw the success word, the smile on her face disappeared? She knit her brows and gave a sigh. The old man's heart skipped a beat and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He nervously asked, "Miss, is there anything wrong with this success word?" Chen Ning shook her head and gave a sigh. The old man's heart became even more uneasy. He nervously said, "Miss, please speak your mind." Chen Ning knew that if she said something good, the old man would not say anything and just leave. So she purposely gave a sad sigh. It really hooked the old man's appetite, making him unable to stop. "Old uncle, since you say it like this, then I'll speak my mind. The success word you're testing has a very good meaning. Success, your wishes will come true and you will become a great person. It's all because of this success word." There's also the phrase, "ride the clouds," which is also a homonym for this success word. So, your son will definitely have a great future. Chen Ning spoke clearly and the old man listened attentively. He stroked his beard and couldn't help nodding with a faint smile. Who would have thought that Chen Ning's words would suddenly change, but this success word also has a bad point. "Old uncle, please take a look, it contains the word spear. It contains a hidden killing intent, as well as the meaning of war, so your son will have a bloody disaster. There's also another thing, the success word belongs to the metal element and fire suppresses metal. Right now is the fire season in the 3rd month, so this is not good." The old man couldn't help giving a snort as a look of disbelief flashed across his face. Of course Chen Ning knew why the old man didn't believe her. It was because normal people liked to hear good things and hated to hear bad things. Her eyes looked over the old man's face and she softly said, "Old uncle, does your beloved son cry in the middle of the night every night? And when the rooster crows 5 times, does he stop crying and fall asleep?" The old man's brows couldn't help jumping up. He looked at Chen Ning in shock and blurted out, "That's right." "How do you know?" Chen Ning calmly said, "This is the fire-restraining metal that I was talking about. The day is divided into 24 hours, with the fire at its strongest and the yin at its weakest. If I'm not wrong, you should have named your beloved son after this Qing character. He is restrained by fire, so he cries in the middle of the night, stopping at dawn." The old man stared at Chen Ning and the expression on his face could no longer be described with the word success. Originally, he had sat down to do the fortune-telling just to get some good luck. He wanted the other party to say a few auspicious words and then casually throw a few copper coins and leave. But when he heard the words bloody calamity, he was already inwardly furious. He felt that the other party was talking nonsense and was just a swindler trying to cheat him of his money. At that time, he was prepared to leave, but who would have thought that Chen Ning's next words would shock him? She had described the scene of his beloved son crying every night, as if she had seen it with her own eyes. Ning said. Chapter 54. Then I would like to ask Miss, do you have a way to resolve this? The old man leaned forward and had a pleasant expression on his face. His tone and demeanor were completely different from before. Chen Ning saw the change in him and revealed a faint smile. Naturally, there is a way to resolve it. After saying this, she closed her mouth and smiled without saying another word. The old man waited for a while, but Chen Ning didn't say anything. He was stunned for a bit and then suddenly realized something. He patted his head and said, "Look at me, I'm really old and confused. I actually forgot the rules of this trade." He took out a bag of money from his chest and took out a white ingot of silver from the bag. He placed it on the table. Xiao Ru's eyes suddenly opened wide. This was a full 10 silvers. She never would have dreamed that this old man would be this generous after hearing a few words from her young miss. He would take out 10 silvers at once. Chen Ning smiled as she picked up the silver and looked at it. Then she threw it into Xiao Ru's chest. No matter how Xiao Ru looked at that smiling appearance, it looked like the little fox that she had drawn on her face this morning. After taking the silver, Chen Ning once again opened her mouth. She slowly picked up the pen and wrote the word "earth" on the paper. The old man looked at it and said with a blank face, "Miss, what does this mean?" Chen Ning gave a faint smile and said, "Everything in the world is complementary and the 5 elements are the same. As long as you add the word earth to your beloved son's name, it will become extremely auspicious. If you add the word earth to the word Qing, it will become the word Qing. The will of the people will become a city, and it will be priceless. All of these are great auspicious numbers. Your beloved son will definitely have the help of a noble person in the future. He will become a minister and his future will be limitless." This string of auspicious words made the old man's face light up. His 3 strands of beard floated up as he smiled and stood up. He cupped his hands to Chen Ning and said, "I'll accept Miss' words. If my son's future is as limitless as Miss says, then this old man will first thank you for your divine foresight. This old man still has matters to attend to at home, so I'll be leaving first. Goodbye." He was now very satisfied. He felt that these 10 silvers were not spent in vain. As for whether his child would be able to live up to Chen Ning's words in the future, becoming an official with a limitless future, that was something to be said later. However, Chen Ning's words were all in his heart. Even if he had to spend money for good luck, he would be willing. The old man picked up the basket and prepared to leave. Chen Ning suddenly called out to him. "Old man, your son cries every night. I have a way to make him sleep until the sun rises." "Really?" The old man's body trembled as he revealed an excited expression. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "I've just said that soil makes metal, so you only need to feed him a bit of soil every night and he'll be able to sleep peacefully. Eat dirt. Eat dirt." The old man couldn't help glaring at her. This divine fortune-telling girl's method was truly strange. She actually wanted his beloved son to eat dirt. Of course you can't directly feed him dirt. You can pick up some dirt and mix it with water to feed him. That would be enough. "Oh, then I'll have to thank Miss." The old man was still doubtful. He cupped his hands to Chen Ning again and left with the basket. When the old man couldn't even be seen, Xiao Ru came over to Chen Ning's side and asked in a small voice, "Young miss, was what you said just now true? You wouldn't be lying to him, right?" Chen Ning looked at Xiao Ru. "Do you think your young miss is a swindler?" She took the ingot of silver from Xiao Ru's hand and tossed it up and down. Her smile was so wide that only her teeth could be seen. Chapter 55. The largest and best restaurant in the capital was called Taihe Floor. When Chen Ning and Xiao Ru arrived at Taihe Floor, they found that this restaurant truly lived up to its name. Just from the outside, they could tell that it was very elegant. The customers that came in and out were either officials or nobles. They were all dressed in luxurious clothes and had an extraordinary aura. Xiao Ru saw this and her heart felt weak. She secretly pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve and said in a small voice, "Young miss, why don't we go to another restaurant? This restaurant's food must be very expensive. We only have 10 silvers, so we don't have enough money to pay the bill after eating." Chen Ning waved her hand and said in an uncaring manner, "What are you afraid of? Since we're here, let's eat to our heart's content. Don't save money for your young miss." She boldly walked in. Although she was dressed in commoner's clothing, her bearing was not one bit inferior to those high-ranking officials and nobles who wore embroidered clothes. "Two esteemed guests, please come in. May I ask if you two want a private room upstairs or—" As soon as they entered, a waiter came forward with a face full of hospitality, enthusiastically greeting them. Before he could finish, the waiter's words were stuck in his throat. He finally saw Chen Ning and Xiao Ru's clothes and couldn't help being stunned. He had worked at Taihe floor for a long time, but this was the first time he had seen such poor-dressed people enter Taihe floor. He couldn't help muttering in his heart, "Were these two beggars here to beg for food? Give us the best private room upstairs." When Chen Ning opened her mouth, Xiao Ru's chin almost fell off from shock. She began to give Chen Ning a meaningful look. Her meaning was that they only had 10 silvers, so why don't we just sit in the lobby downstairs? Chen Ning acted like she didn't see it. She smiled and repeated herself, "I want the best." The waiter hesitated for a bit. He felt that these two guests were not here to eat, but more like they were here to beg. "I'm really sorry, but the private rooms upstairs are all full. How about the two of you eat downstairs?" he said with a smile. "Full? I think you're the one looking down on us. Are you afraid that we can't eat at your Taihe floor and are not worthy of sitting in your private rooms?" Chen Ning saw through the waiter's thoughts with a single glance. She put away the smile on her face and bluntly criticized him. The waiter's face couldn't help turning red. He secretly thought that these two girls were really trying to impress. They were dressed so shabbily, how could they afford to eat at Taihe floor? "I'll say it again. Find us the best seats and I'll reward you with this." Chen Ning took out the silver ingot and threw it into the hands of the waiter without even looking at it. Seeing this, her eyes to the waiter's chest. "Oh my God, this is 10 taels of silver." He had to work at the Taihe floor for a full year to earn this amount of money, but this girl in front of him was casually giving it to others. It seems like in this day and age, you really can't judge a book by its cover. "Yes, yes. Two esteemed guests, please come upstairs. Xiao Ning. Xiao to Xiao 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 Nings. Ru. Roop. Xiao up. Nings to Ru Xiao Xiao Ru. To was to. She kept saying in her heart, "My good young miss, you're really generous. Giving us 10 silvers at once, that's all we have. We're so poor right now, what will we use to pay for the meal?" Her face turned into a bitter gourd. Chen Ning held her hand as they entered the private room on the second floor. Chapter 56. The waiter brought over the menu and Chen Ning directly gave it to Xiao Ru. "Little girl, you order the dishes. Order whatever you want to eat. It's still the same words, don't save money for your young miss." Xiao Ru had a crying face. Without looking at the menu, she pushed it back to Chen Ning. "Young miss, this servant doesn't know how to read, so you should order." She said in her heart, "What dishes are you ordering? Even if it's just plain bread, we can't afford it." Chen Ning smiled and said, "All right, I'll order. Wu, I remember you saying last time that you wanted to eat lotus root boiled beef, scallion spare ribs, and oh, that's right, chestnut roasted chicken." Xiao Ru, did I remember correctly? You didn't remember incorrectly, young miss memory is really good. Xiao Ru dryly praised as she blinked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning giggled and said, "Waiter, other than those 3 dishes, we also want a jade shrimp, a mixed meat, and a lion's head with crab meat." She did not stop as she ordered the most expensive dishes on the menu. The waiter's smile was so wide that his eyes couldn't be seen. "Yes. May I ask if these 2 esteemed guests would like some wine?" Our store's pear blossom white is very famous in the capital city. It is sweet and fragrant, with an endless aftertaste. All the guests that come here love to drink it, even the young misses of the rich and powerful families come to our store and ask for this pear blossom white. He eagerly recommended. Chen Ning became interested when she heard this. She slapped the table and said, "All right, give me 3 pounds." The waiter left with a smile on his face. Xiao Ru was so anxious that she began to sweat. "Young miss, you've ordered all these expensive dishes. We won't have any money to pay the bill, what should we do?" "You don't have any money to pay the bill?" Chen Ning looked at Xiao Ru's face and giggled as she said, "Then I'll leave you here to wash the dishes." "Young miss." Xiao Ru's heart was filled with anxiety and she almost cried. All right, I'm just teasing you. How could I bear to let my Xiao Ru wash the dishes? When the dishes come, you can eat them without worry. As for the money to pay the bill, I have my own ways." Chen Ning had a very confident look on her face. "Young miss, what methods do you have?" Xiao Ru was doubtful. Chen Ning smiled and did not reply. She had a mysterious look on her face. Xiao Ru knew that as long as the young miss revealed this expression, she would not tell her. She could only sit down and hold her chin as she waited for the dishes to be served. "That's right, young miss, do you really know fortune-telling? We've never met that old man before. How could you tell at a glance that he had a son in his old age?" Xiao Ru had this question for a long and she finally asked it. Hearing this, Chen Ning gave a gentle smile and tapped Xiao Ru's nose. "Stupid girl, do you remember what I told you before?" "Xiao, this servant does not know." "Ning." Xiao Ru said, and Xiao Ning. Xiao Ru. "Miss, this servant Xiao Ning. Mississippi that in Rushi." She really didn't understand. This thing could talk. She say I Ning she know. She Chen Ning Ru. She really did not to say. Say. Li she say. She to say. To say. Ru Xiao to say. Xiao Ru tilted her head and thought for a bit. Then she suddenly slapped her head and shouted, "I remember." This servant took a look and there were eggs in the basket. "That's right, eggs." Chen Ning said with a smile, "Do you remember what color the eggs were?" Chapter 57. Stupid Girl. Chen Ning reached out and tapped Xiao Ru's head. "It's not that you don't remember, it's that you didn't pay attention at all. As long as you look carefully, you'll find that it's a basket of red eggs. Tell me, why would an old man carry a basket of red eggs on the streets?" "I know this because there's a new child in the family." Xiao Ru clapped her hands and shouted. After saying this, she suddenly realized something and said, "Oh, I understand now. Young miss, you guessed that he had a child at an old age based on the eggs. It was actually this simple. I really thought that young miss knew how to read fortunes." Chen Ning pursed her lips and said, "There are many fortune tellers who use this method, so there's nothing strange about it. Xiao Ru, if you learn how to observe, you'll be able to do it too." "Then young miss, what you said about the blood disaster and eating dirt to stop crying, were they all true?" Xiao Ru scratched her head again. She was stunned at the time. "If you believe it, then it's true. If you don't believe it, then it's fake." Chen Ning smiled and winked. She picked up her chopsticks and said, "Come, let's eat, let's eat." While the two of them were talking, the dishes were brought over like a stream. They filled the table and the fragrance filled the air. Xiao Ru's saliva almost flowed out. She ate a piece of shrimp and then a piece of pork ribs. She felt that each dish was something she had never eaten before. When Chen Ning saw this, she felt it was a little strange. In any case, she was the young miss of the Hugua Palace before she was married, and Xiao Ru was the maid of the original body. Could it be that she had never eaten these home-cooked dishes before? She searched through the memories of the original body and found that she really had never eaten them before. Not only Xiao Ru, even she, the young miss, only ate the crude food sent over from the kitchen every day. There was not a single bit of meat in the food. Of course, this was all because of her good stepmother, Madame Lin. She was not willing to think about the bitter past of the original body. She picked up her chopsticks and picked up a large piece of meat for Xiao Ru. She said with a smile, "This meat is the best. It's fragrant but not greasy. It melts in your mouth, you'll definitely like it." Chen Ning and Xiao Ru happily ate. They did not know that in the private room next to them, there was someone listening to their conversation. The black-clothed man sat in front of the table and drank slowly. There were only 4 dishes on the table, but each one was exquisite and expensive. The pear blossom wine in the pot emitted a sweet and intoxicating fragrance. He reclined in the chair and drank 1 cup after another. His demeanor was carefree and lazy. Behind him, there was a blue-clothed youth standing with his hands raised. While Xiao Ru was talking to the waiter, Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru, Xiao Ning, Xiao, Xiao Ru, Xiao, Xiao, and Xiao Xiao Ru, Xiao Xiao Ru, Xiao 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 and said. He remembered that he had turned the entire alley upside down, but he could not find even a trace of her and her servant. Hearing Chen Ning's voice at this time, he was filled with a pleasant surprise that came from searching far and wide. I shall, he, as, he. Xiao Ru, on the other hand, was listening to the conversation in the private room. The expressions on his face were very rich. Hearing Xiao Ru whisper that they didn't have money to pay the bill, Xiao Si couldn't help but blurt out, "Master, they don't have money to eat. Do you want to?" Chapter 58. Xiao Si had already noticed that his master was interested in the older girl next door, and he had quite a bit of interest in her. This was because after following his master for so many years, she was the first girl that his master had taken the initiative to invite to a meal. Yesterday, when he had come back to report to his master that the 2 girls had disappeared, his master's face had been expressionless and he hadn't said a single word, but Xiao Si had felt the atmosphere freeze. It was like a gust of cold wind had blown across the ground, causing him to shiver from the cold. He realized that if he couldn't find that girl, he would leave a bad impression in his master's heart. But who would have thought that there would be such a coincidence today? The girl that he couldn't find would suddenly appear next door in the same restaurant, and she didn't have any money to pay the bill. This was a good opportunity to get close to her. But his master acted like he didn't hear anything. He just sat there and didn't even let out a fart. Xiao Si couldn't bear to let his master miss this kind of heaven-sent opportunity, so he reminded him. Meddlesome. The black-clothed man's cold eyes flew over and Xiao Si immediately closed his mouth. All right, since his master thought he was a meddlesome servant, then he wouldn't care. Looking at his master's taciturn personality, how could he talk to this girl? Young miss, this Tai He Floor's food is too delicious. This servant has never eaten such delicious food in my life. If we could eat this kind of good food every day, how happy would that be? Xiao Ru gave a large burp. She licked her lips as she let out a sigh. She had eaten until her stomach was about to burst, but there was still a lot of food left. Chen Ning revealed a smile. These dishes were indeed delicious, but she who came from the modern era had eaten even more delicious dishes than these. After all, times had changed and humans were constantly improving. The amount of thought and variety that the modern people put into food was something that the people of this era could not compare to. Compared to the food, she liked the wine here more. It was really like what the waiter had said, it was sweet and fragrant, leaving an endless aftertaste. After a few glasses of wine, she felt tipsy. Her cheeks were stained with a faint blush, but her eyes became even brighter. "Xiao Ru, are you full?" she giggled as she asked. I'm full. This servant's stomach is about to burst." Xiao Ru replied, but her face revealed a worried expression. She pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve and said in a small voice, "Young miss, we don't have any money to pay the bill. How about we find a chance to slip away?" "Slip away? Tell me, how do we slip away?" Chen Ning couldn't help but laugh as she asked. Xiao Ru rolled her eyes and looked out the window. Her eyes lit up. "Why don't we jump out the window? This is the second floor. It's so high, aren't you afraid of breaking your legs?" Chen Ning smiled as she looked out the window. Xiao Ru was speechless. She anxiously grabbed her hair. "Then what? Are we going to sit here and not pay the bill? Are we going to leave?" Not only was Xiao Ru worried, even Xiao Si next door was worried for them. He couldn't help but glance at his master, hoping that the black-clothed man would take the initiative to help them pay the bill. But the black-clothed man didn't even look at him, only minding his own business as he drank and ate leisurely. He. Chen Ning smiled. She suddenly raised her voice and shouted, "Waiter!" Chapter 59. Once she heard the word bill, Xiao Ru's face turned white. Her little hand nervously grabbed onto Chen Ning's sleeve. Chen Ning calmly patted her hand and said to the waiter with a smile, "Your restaurant's dishes are not bad, but there are too few dishes, so it's not satisfying to eat." The waiter stuck out his tongue when he heard this. With a smile, he said, "Miss might not know, but our restaurant has over 200 different dishes. Out of all the restaurants in the capital, our restaurant has the most dishes and the taste is the best. Even the nobles, ministers, and even the royal family are full of praise after eating it." His words were filled with pride. Although he did not dare look down on Chen Ning and her servant after taking Chen Ning's money, when he heard her say that his restaurant's dishes were not good, his heart was not convinced and he couldn't help boasting. "Then I want to order 4 special dishes. I wonder if your chef can make them?" Chen Ning asked with a smile. "Miss, just order. As long as it's something that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, or swims in the water, my chef can make it. As long as it's something Miss can't order, there is nothing my chef can't make." The waiter patted his chest and confidently boasted. "Very good, then I can rest assured." Chen Ning's smile made Xiao Ru's heart tremble seeing this. Every time she saw the young miss reveal this fox-like smile, someone would definitely be out of luck. But what Xiao Ru did not understand was that they would be the ones out of luck because they didn't have any money to pay the bill. "Then I'll order something that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, and swims in the water. I'll order one of each." "Woo, the last one will be a soup." Chen Ning leaned back in her chair and revealed a lazy look. "All right." The waiter heard that this was too simple and immediately agreed. He turned around to leave. "Wait a minute, waiter. I haven't finished speaking yet." Chen Ning called out to him. "What else does Miss want to order?" The waiter turned around with a smile and respectfully said. Chen Ning reached out a finger to her chin and slowly said, "The first dish is something that flies in the sky. A phoenix is a phoenix, so let's have a phoenix's nest. The second dish is something that runs on the ground. I want to try the eggs laid by the divine phoenix, so I'll have a phoenix egg. The third dish is something that swims in the water. It's spring right now and the peach blossoms are flowing with water, so it's a good time to eat mandarin fish. I'll have a squirrel mandarin fish. As for the fourth soup, woo, it's much simpler. As long as it tastes good and sounds good, it's fine. WH. What?" As Chen Ning spoke, the waiter's mouth was wide open. When she finished speaking, the waiter's mouth was wide enough to fit a phoenix egg. He had been a waiter in the Thai floor for many years, but this was the first time he had heard a customer order this kind of dish. This was the first time he had ever heard of such a thing. Phoenix's nest, phoenix eggs, and squirrel mandarin fish. He had not seen, he had never heard of before. Phoenix. As for the soup that tasted good, looked good, and sounded good, it was even more unimaginable. Did you not hear me clearly? Do you want me to tell you the names of the dishes again? Seeing the stunned look on the waiter's face, Chen Ning gently curled her lips and narrowed her eyes. I heard you clearly. The waiter finally managed to close his mouth with great difficulty. Chapter 60. Miss, the 4 dishes you ordered, it is impossible to make them. The phoenix is a divine bird from the heavens, this little one has never seen one before, so how could it be used to make dishes? This phoenix egg is even more impossible. As for the squirrel mandarin fish you ordered, this lowly one knows about mandarin fish. Our family's chef has a unique skill called mandarin fish in soup. It's fresh and fragrant, and all the customers who have eaten it have praised it. But using squirrel mandarin fish to make mandarin fish, this is not right. And the soup you ordered, how could this soup look good, taste good, and sound good? This little one has lived for over 20 years and has never heard of soup that sounds good. Hey, miss, are you joking with this little one? The waiter said with a smile. Chen Ning's face turned serious and her smile disappeared. She forcefully slapped the table and shouted, "Who is joking with you? You just boasted that anything that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, or swims in the water, your family's head chef is an expert at them all. Now you can't even make 4 normal dishes. If this gets out, your Thai floor's reputation will be smashed." The waiter's face turned bitter as he revealed an awkward expression. He had indeed boasted before, but who would have thought that the 4 dishes Chen Ning ordered would be so strange? This was simply too difficult. Miss, why don't you order another 4 dishes? These 4 dishes of yours are really. Can I make them or can't I? Stop wasting time, stop nagging and give me a straightforward answer. Chen Ning impatiently knit her brows. This. The waiter stuttered. He did not need to go to the kitchen to know that the chefs in the kitchen would not be able to make them. If you can't make them, then don't blame this miss for not paying. Xiao Ru, let's go. Chen Ning pulled Xiao Ru up. All right. So you want to eat for free? You're not allowed to leave. Only then did the waiter react. He immediately stretched out his arms to block the door. Chen Ning gave a cold laugh. The dignified number 1 restaurant in the capital city, what big words and how big of a bull you are. You can't even make the dishes the guests ordered and you still have the nerve to take their money. Aren't you ashamed? She spoke in a righteous manner and with an awe-inspiring manner, she actually made the waiter speechless. Xiao Ru looked at Chen Ning with little stars in her eyes and her heart filled with worship. There was probably no one in this world who had a thicker face than the young miss, right? She could even eat for free in such a righteous manner. Xiao Si, who was eavesdropping next door, couldn't help but let out a laugh. Although the black-clothed man still had a frosty expression on his face, there was a hint of a smile in his eyes. The man's slender fingers rubbed the smooth glass of the cup. The man's slender fingers caressed the smooth surface of the glass, and the light of interest in his eyes could not be concealed. You are deliberately making things difficult for me. The waiter shouted angrily with his hands on his hips. What phoenix's nest and phoenix egg are you talking about? What kind of soup was that? How could there be such a thing in the world? If you don't pay the bill today, don't even think about taking half a step out of the floor of supreme harmony. He turned around and shouted at the people downstairs, "Someone come quickly. There is someone here who doesn't pay." After a while, the sound of people coming from the stairs could be heard. Several burly men came in with kitchen knives and fire sticks in their hands. Their faces were filled with killing intent as they charged in. Who is the one that doesn't pay? Chapter 61. The man's left and right hands each held a pig slaughtering knife. The knife's tip was as bright as snow as it danced around. It's these two girls. The waiter pointed at Chen Ning and Xiao Ru. You guys aren't paying for your meal. The large man aggressively stepped forward. He grinded the two pig slaughtering knives together, making a sound like his teeth were aching. Xiao Ru couldn't help letting out a scream. Her body began to tremble as she closed her eyes, not daring to look at him. Stop being so fierce and scaring this little girl. Stand further away, you smell like excrement. Are you a manure digger in the backyard? Chen Ning revealed a look of disgust as she knit her brows and covered her nose. The large man's face couldn't help turning red. How did this girl know that he was a manure digger? Why do you care who father is? If you don't pay for your meal today, then don't think about leaving our Tai floor. He shouted. Who said we aren't paying for our meal? Chen Ning rolled her eyes at the waiter and said with a cold smile, it was this waiter who was bragging. He said that as long as I ordered a dish, your restaurant would be able to make it. In the end, I ordered it, but he refused to make it. I didn't ruin your Tai floor's reputation, which is already very polite. You actually have the nerve to ask me for money. Is there such a logic in this world? When the group of men heard this, they all felt that Chen Ning's words were reasonable. They couldn't help nodding their heads. The waiter anxiously pointed at Chen Ning and shouted, don't listen to her words. I've never heard of the 4 dishes she ordered before, how could the head chef make them? There is no one in this world that can make them. She's obviously here to freeload. There is no one in this world that can make them. Chen Ning countered with a question, if I said that someone can make those 4 dishes, what would you do? Absolutely impossible. The waiter said without even thinking. You are just a waiter, you can't make the decision. Call the Tai floor's shopkeeper out, this miss wants to talk to him face to face. Alright, then I'll call the shopkeeper out. You just wait. When our shopkeeper comes, you'll have a good time. The waiter ran off. Xiao Ru saw that this matter was getting bigger and bigger. Her forehead was covered in sweat, especially when she saw those fierce-looking men blocking the door. She didn't even have a chance to escape. She wanted to cry, but she couldn't. The young miss had poked a hornet's nest this time. What should she do? Chen Ning calmly said, Xiao Ru, this pear blossom white is very good, do you want to drink a cup? She smiled as she gave Xiao Ru a cup of wine. Xiao Ru's cheeks puffed up as she stared at Chen Ning. She could not understand why the young miss could still smile in this kind of desperate situation. It's fine if you don't s. If I's and I drink is and then is, I will. She and she is she as and she is she as is she. As she is she. And she. Ning. She xiao she and she. She and she. Ning. Who says I'm going to run? Chen Ning giggled as she raised her cup and drank it all in one gulp. I still have to wait for the shopkeeper to come and let him judge. The large men gave a cold laugh in their hearts. With them guarding this place, did she still want to run? Chapter 62. The sound of footsteps came from the stairs again, heading straight for Chen Ning's room. Shopkeeper, it's these 2 girls who aren't paying for their meal. The waiter led a 40-year-old middle-aged man in and pointed at Chen Ning and Xiao Ru as he spoke. That middle-aged man was a bit chubby and had an extraordinary aura. Although he had heard from the waiter that there were people who didn't pay for their meal and that Chen Ning and Xiao Ru were two young girls, he still cupped his hands and politely greeted them. "Young ladies, are you having some trouble with your hands?" His Tai He Floor was the #1 restaurant in the capital. As the shopkeeper of Tai He Floor, of course he understood the logic of making money. Although he knew that the other side was eating for free, he still politely gave them a way out. Just this kind of attitude was enough to make people look at him in a different light. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and shook her head in denial. "It's very convenient for us." "Shopkeeper, don't listen to the waiter's words, we definitely did not come to your restaurant to eat for free." "Oh." The shopkeeper was stunned when he heard this and looked at the waiter. The waiter quickly explained, "Shopkeeper, this little one is not lying. They ordered a table full of dishes and didn't want to pay the bill before leaving. It's clear that they want to eat for free. Look at how poor they are, it doesn't seem like they can pay the bill." Chen Ning gave a cold laugh and said, "You're just judging people by their appearance, you have eyes but can't see. If we don't have money to pay the bill, where did the 10 silver coins in your pocket come from?" The waiter's face turned red and he stuttered, This is what you gave me." "That's right, I even gave 10 silver coins to a waiter, would I eat for free? Do you believe me?" Chen Ning looked up and confidently looked at the people around her. Of course they didn't believe it. If they said that this kind of generous customer didn't have money to pay the bill, that would be the biggest joke in the world. Everyone present had the same thought. The shopkeeper's face sunk. "Waiter, how did you offend these two girls?" His voice was very strict and he didn't show any anger. "Shopkeeper, this little one. This little one didn't, this little one doesn't dare." The waiter was covered in cold sweat and his heart was filled with regret. This girl's mouth was too powerful. She was able to turn black into white. Even the shopkeeper didn't believe his own words. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have accepted the 10 silver coins. Even if he had 100 mouths, he still wouldn't be able to explain himself. "Waiter, hurry up and apologize to these two esteemed guests." The innkeeper shouted again. The waiter felt wronged, but he did not dare disobey the shopkeeper's orders. He could only bitterly apologize to Chen Ning and Xiao Ru. "I have eyes but failed to see. I have offended the two ladies. Please be magnanimous and forgive me. Forget it, this little one will." Chen Ning revealed a natural smile and cupped her hands to the shopkeeper. It is the shopkeeper who is reasonable and able to distinguish right from wrong. Since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, we will be leaving. The innkeeper nodded with a smile and said, "It is rare for you to be so magnanimous. I hope you will come to our restaurant again next time." I will. Chen Ning nodded with a smile. She grabbed Xiao Ru's hand and walked out the door. The few men who were blocking the entrance hurriedly put away their weapons and made way for the two of them. Chapter 63. Xiao Ru was an honest person. She couldn't help pulling on Chen Ning's sleeve and asking, "Young miss, have we not paid yet?" Hearing this, Chen Ning almost fainted from anger. She stared at Xiao Ru, wishing she could take a needle and sew this stupid girl's mouth shut. Xiao Ru, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak." She sighed in her heart. Just now, when she had interrogated the waiter in front of everyone, she had used a loophole in psychology. She had used one thing to negate another thing that was not related. Even the knowledgeable Tai He Floor shopkeeper had not realized it and had been fooled by her. That was why he had been fooled and let them leave. But now that she had been reminded by Xiao Ru, Chen Ning knew that they would not be able to leave smoothly. Sure enough, when the two of them reached the door, they heard the waiter call out, "Shopkeeper, don't let them go. They haven't paid for their meal yet." When the large men heard this, they immediately blocked the door again. The shopkeeper looked at the leftover food on the table and understood in his heart. He couldn't help giving a cold laugh, so the two girls haven't paid for their meal yet. Since the girls say that it's convenient, then please pay for your meal before you leave. The two of you even gave the waiter 10 silvers at once. It can't be that you don't have money to pay for your meal, right? His voice was filled with ridicule, but his heart was filled with shame. Even though he thought he was smart, he had almost failed miserably today. He had been tricked by a 15 or 16-year-old girl. Who said we don't have money to pay for our meal? We have. We have money. Xiao Ru's face turned red as she spoke. She did not dare look at Qin Ning. She knew that she had made a mistake. She was so regretful that she wanted to bite off her own tongue. Since you have money, then quickly take it out to pay for your meal. If you don't have money, don't blame me for sending you to the authorities. The shopkeeper gave a cold laugh. The surrounding diners who were watching the commotion also understood. It turned out that these two girls were really freeloaders. Ze, young girls can't learn anything, but you actually learn to be a swindler and freeloader. That's right, that's right. The world's morals are getting worse by the day. The crowd's accusations and ridicule came one after another. Xiao Ru was so embarrassed that she wanted to hide under the table. She hated herself to death right now. Why couldn't she control her tongue? She had caused the young miss to be ridiculed by others. Who says these two girls don't have money to pay for their meal? Is this gold ingot enough? If it isn't, then add another ingot. Amidst the crowd's accusations and mocking laughter, a young man in green parted the crowd and led a tall man in black into the hall. The black-clothed man's face was expressionless, but he raised his hand, and a glistening gold ingot fell on the table in front of the shopkeeper with a clang. Xiao xiao. Woo. Woo, xiao. The black-clothed man had been listening for a long time and waiting for a long time. He had not made a move because he was waiting for a chance. When Qin Ning was surrounded on all sides, he would make a move. Only then could he amaze the world with a single brilliant feat and leave a deep impression in her heart. Ning. Xiao, T-R, Xiao Xiao, 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 Ning had. Xiao Ru was pleasantly surprised. She pulled on Qin Ning's sleeve. Young miss, it's him. Qin Ning looked at the black-clothed man and her eyebrows slightly knit together. Chapter 64. It's enough, it's enough. The shopkeeper picked up the gold ingot and knew that it was real gold, it couldn't be faked. He revealed a smile on his face, so these two girls are this honored guest's friends. I've been disrespectful. The bystanders were all envious of Qin Ning's good luck. She had actually made such generous friends. Shopkeeper, please return the gold to this guest. I don't know him and I'm not his friend. The food in my stomach, I don't need anyone else to pay for me. Qin Ning suddenly cleared her throat and said. Her voice was very clear. As soon as her words fell, there was a gasp from the surrounding people. Everyone looked at her like she was an idiot. They were all wondering if this girl was an idiot. Someone was paying for her and she didn't appreciate it. Xiao Si and Xiao Ru's jaws dropped. They did not dare believe their ears. Even in his dreams, the black-robed man had never imagined that his good intentions would be met with a rebuff. His two thick eyebrows slowly came up and his deep dark eyes stared right at Qin Ning, like he wanted to see through her. Qin Ning was shocked. She was shocked. The shopkeeper held the gold ingot with his mouth wide open, not knowing what to do as he looked at Qin Ning. Qin Ning did not even look at the black-clothed man. She took a step forward and took the gold ingot from the shopkeeper's hand, throwing it to Xiao Si. Xiao Si subconsciously caught it and immediately received a cold stare from his master. His body trembled in fear and the gold ingot in his hand almost fell off and hit his toes. He looked at Chen Ning with a bitter face. He could not understand why this girl didn't throw the gold ingot to his master and instead threw it to him. This was clearly trying to kill him. Although the black-clothed man did not say a single word, Xiao Si understood that his master's anger was like a giant wave that could explode at any moment. When that time came, the first person to suffer would be him. "Miss, since you say that you don't need this honored guest to pay for you, then this miss can pay for it herself." The shopkeeper saw the gold ingot fly away and his heart filled with pain. His attitude towards Chen Ning became even more impolite. "What's the rush to pay? I'm not full yet. Once I'm full, I'll naturally pay for it." Facing everyone's questioning gazes, Chen Ning calmly sat down and smiled at the shopkeeper. "Shopkeeper, I just heard the waiter say that your Tai Floor's chef is very skilled. Whether it's food that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, or swims in the water, he is very good at it. Is this true?" The shopkeeper replied without thinking, "Of course it's true. Our Tai Floor's chef can make any dish. There are only dishes that the customer can't order, but there isn't anything that the chef can't make." He wasn't boasting, but everyone knew that his family's restaurant had a wide variety of dishes and was second to none in the capital. Perhaps even the dishes in the imperial kitchen couldn't compare to his family's. "Very good." Chen Ning was waiting for him to say this. Her eyes swept over the surrounding crowd and she slowly said, "You are the shopkeeper of the Tai Floor. Your words are like water that has been spilled, you can't take them back. There are so many guests here and everyone can bear witness." Chapter 65. The waiter had an awkward look on his face. He wanted to remind the shopkeeper not to boast, but how could the shopkeeper understand his subtle hint? Instead, he was scolding him right to his face. He lowered his head and pretended to be mute, not making a single sound. Who would have thought that even if he pretended to be mute, Chen Ning would not let him go? It's still the shopkeeper who is straightforward. Chen Ning looked over at the silent waiter and said with a smile, "Your waiter said the same thing as you, so I ordered 4 dishes. They were flying in the sky, running on the ground, and swimming in the water. I also ordered a simple soup, but the waiter kept saying that they didn't have it. Could it be that the #1 restaurant in the capital can't even make 4 normal dishes?" It was clearly the restaurant bullying the customers, so this miss was angry and wanted to leave with the maid. Who would have thought that the waiter would be so picky and accuse us of not paying for our meal, saying that we were eating for free? "Shopkeeper, you should be the judge of this." Her words were clear, her voice was clear, and her words were clear. When everyone heard this, they were filled with dissatisfaction towards the waiter. "So it's like this, then it's all the waiter's fault." The shopkeeper's face sunk and he reprimanded the waiter. "The customer has ordered, how can you say that they don't have it? Have you forgotten the rules of this restaurant? Do you still want to work in our Tai Floor?" The waiter looked at Chen Ning with a crying face. He thought that this girl's mouth was very powerful, she could even make the dead come back to life. If he knew this earlier, he would not have dared to provoke her in the first place. As a result, he was now suffering in silence, unable to voice out his bitterness. His heart was filled with grievance. "Shopkeeper, it's not like this, it's like this." "No, it's not like this, it's like that." His heart was filled with anxiety and he stuttered even more. "What is this and that?" The shopkeeper impatiently cut him off and shouted, "What 4 dishes did the customer order? Why aren't you telling the chef to make them?" The waiter did not dare agree. He blinked his eyes at the shopkeeper. "Shopkeeper, it's not that this little one doesn't want to go, but the 4 dishes this girl ordered. This little one has never heard of them before. Our chef will not be able to make them." When the shopkeeper heard this, he was filled with anger. This brat actually said that he could not make the dishes the customer ordered in front of everyone. Wasn't this just throwing away his face? He raised his foot at the waiter and shouted, "Is there anything in this world that our Tai Floor's chef can't make? You brat, you're speaking nonsense. Quickly! Quickly!" The waiter's butt was kicked and he said in an aggrieved voice, "Shopkeeper, you might not know, but the 4 dishes this girl ordered, the one that flies in the sky. She said that the phoenix is a divine bird in the sky, so she wants to eat phoenix meat. She even named the dish the phoenix's nest. This little one has lived for so long, but I have never seen a phoenix before. Also, the one that runs on the ground, she wants the phoenix's egg. The one that swims in the water, she wants some squirrel and mandarin fish, and the strangest thing is the soup she wants. Not only does it taste good, it also sounds good. Shopkeeper, don't you think she's deliberately making it hard for people? How can there be anyone in this world that can make these 4 dishes? What? Phoenix's nest, phoenix eggs, squirrel and mandarin fish, and a soup that tastes good and sounds good? Everyone's eyes popped out when they heard this. They thought that this matter couldn't be blamed on the waiter, it was clearly this little girl who was deliberately making it hard for them. Chapter 66. Once the shopkeeper heard this, he knew that he had wronged the waiter. His eyes turned cold as he looked at Chen Ning. "Which family sent you here to cause trouble for my Tai Floor? If you want to smash my restaurant signboard, then go back and tell the person behind you that there's no way." The shopkeeper's face turned livid as he forcefully slammed the table. A tall tree attracts the wind. Tai Floor was known as the #1 restaurant in the capital, and there were several other restaurants that didn't accept this. They had already been secretly preparing to steal the name of the #1 restaurant in the capital. So the shopkeeper immediately concluded that Chen Ning and her servant were sent by another restaurant to cause trouble. They wanted to smash his Tai Floor's signboard in front of everyone. "Shopkeeper, what you're saying is wrong, right? I came to your Tai Floor to order food, but you're saying that I'm deliberately looking for trouble and that a guest can't even order food? When did Tai Floor have this kind of rule?" Chen Ning blinked her eyes. "It's not that you can't, it's just that the 4 dishes you ordered are too much. I believe that not only the head chef of this restaurant can't make them, even the royal chefs of the royal palace can't make them. If someone can make these 4 dishes, then I will smash the signboard of Tai Floor." The shopkeeper's face sank as he arrogantly said. The shopkeeper is angry. "Do you think that I'm purposely looking for trouble and that I don't want to pay for my meal?" Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile. Was it not? Everyone in the crowd asked this question in their hearts. Even the black-clothed man and Xiao Si were no exception. Wasn't this the lice on a monk's head? It was obvious. Humph. The shopkeeper gave a heavy snort, giving her a silent approval. "If I say that I have a way to make these 4 dishes, then what?" Chen Ning was not angry as she continued to speak with a smile. "If you can make them, then I won't take a single cent from your meal and I'll even give you 1,000 silver coins." The shopkeeper gave a cold laugh. His expression clearly showed that he did not believe her at all. "All right, I'll earn 1,000 silver coins from you today. Bring out a pen and paper." Chen Ning arrogantly sat down on a chair. Pen and paper. Everyone was stunned for a moment before they began to laugh at Chen Ning. This girl has been boasting all day, but in the end, she was just talking on paper. Isn't that so? I thought that she really had the ability to make those phoenix dishes. In the end, she's just a swindler. When the shopkeeper heard everyone ridiculing Chen Ning, he began to give a cold laugh. He ordered the waiter, "Didn't you hear what this divine chef said? Hurry up and get me a pen and paper. Miss Divine Chef is going to show us her skills." The mockery in his voice could not be any thicker. Everyone heard this and they broke out a laugh. Xiao Ru's heart was filled with sadness as tears began to fall from her eyes. Speaking of which, it was all her fault for being too talkative. In the end, she caused the young miss to be mocked and ridiculed by so many people. It was all her fault. Xiao. Xiao he ning, Xiao. Xiao and Xiao was. Master. Chen Ning used her hand to support her chin. Her clear-as-water eyes looked at the people mocking her. She had a smile on her face, as if everything they said was praising her. Chen Ning used her hand to support her chin and her clear-as-water eyes looked at the people who were mocking her. She had a smile on her face, as if they were all praising her with words. Chapter 67. The black-clothed man's heart was in a very bad mood. He couldn't help rubbing his tall nose. He couldn't understand how he had offended this girl. Why did she not like him at all? Was it because he had thrown 50 silver coins to that swindler the first time they met? Now he had left the impression of a rich fool in her heart and he would never be able to make a comeback. Divine chef girl, the pen and paper are here. Please show us your skills. The waiter came in with the pen and paper. He placed it in front of Chen Ning and the corner of his lips curled up in ridicule. Everyone was laughing at Chen Ning's misfortune, preparing to see Chen Ning make a fool of herself. Chen Ning calmly picked up the pen and turned her back to everyone as she began to write. Everyone could only see her waving her hand and not see what she was writing on the paper, but this did not stop them from continuing to laugh at Chen Ning. What cooking, so it's a painting. I've seen a joke in a book before, it's called drawing cakes to satisfy one's hunger. Today I've seen it for real, ha, ha. Everyone should open your eyes wide and watch carefully. Who knows if a phoenix will fly down from the paper? Everyone pointed at her and laughed non-stop. The shopkeeper thought the same as everyone else, he was sure that Chen Ning was drawing the 4 dishes. He had prepared a stomach full of words and was prepared to fiercely criticize her when she took out the painting. Chen Ning put down the pen and looked at it. She picked up a corner and blew the ink dry before handing it over to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, do you think this piece of paper is worth 1,000 silver coins? She curled up the corners of her lips and smiled calmly. Everyone's eyes opened wide as they looked at the paper. They saw that the paper was filled with words, but it wasn't a painting. They were thinking in their hearts, this girl really knows how to brag. Even a piece of paper with words on it was worth 1,000 silver coins. Even the famous calligraphy in the capital city that even the emperor praised, Sir Zhang's calligraphy, was only worth 1,000 silver coins. The shopkeeper took the piece of paper with a look of disdain and snorted. His eyes were filled with disdain as he glanced at it disapprovingly. Sweeping over it, his expression suddenly changed. He went from being careless to being completely focused. His eyes did not even blink as he stared at the paper. It was as if what was written on the paper was not words, but rather a flower. Everyone began to feel strange. They stretched their necks, wanting to see what was written on the paper. But the shopkeeper turned around, blocking everyone's line of sight. They could only see the expression on his face becoming more and more excited. In the end, he was so excited that his hands were trembling. He tightly grasped the thin piece of paper as if it was a treasure that had fallen from the sky. Waiter, quickly instruct the cashier to bring 1,000 taels of silver over and give it to this lady. He shouted without thinking. He did not finish reading the words on the piece of paper. He hurriedly folded it and put it in his bosom. He even looked left and right for fear that someone would covet it. The surrounding people were all curious to death. What was written on that piece of paper that actually made this shopkeeper take out 1,000 taels of silver without hesitation? The shopkeeper's chin almost fell to the ground as he doubted his ears. Chapter 68. The waiter seemed like he had just woken up from a dream. He rubbed his butt as he walked out, but he was suddenly stopped by Chen Ning. Wait a minute, shopkeeper. 1,000 silver coins is too heavy, why don't you change it into silver bills for me? Chen Ning said with a smile. All right, no problem. Whatever the young miss says it is. The shopkeeper went from arrogant to respectful as he nodded and bowed to Chen Ning. The waiter was stunned seeing this. Was this person with a face full of flattery really his shopkeeper? This 1,000 silver coins are all Hui Feng Money House's silver bills. They are the real deal and we do not cheat anyone. Young miss, please take a look. The shopkeeper smiled until his eyes turned into slits. He held the thick stack of silver bills and respectfully presented it to Chen Ning with both hands. Chen Ning reached out to take it and gave it to Xiao Ru. With a generous smile, she said, "There's no need to count it, I believe the shopkeeper won't lie to me. Now that we're done, we can leave, is that okay?" She glanced at the few fierce-looking men blocking the door. "Of course it's okay. You blind waste, why aren't you moving out of the way for me? Don't block the path of these two girls. 2 girls, please." The shopkeeper immediately understood and scolded the large men. He personally led the way and sent Chen Ning and Xiao Ru away. The remaining people watching the show all had their jaws dropped to the ground. Even in their dreams, they never would have thought that the final result would be like this. Interesting, it really was interesting. The black-clothed man stood in the same place. His face was still expressionless, but there was a faint smile that flashed in his deep black eyes. Although that smile was so faint that it couldn't even be seen, Xiao Xi's sharp eyes could still see it. "Xiao Xi, follow them." The man's voice was very calm, it was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. "Yes, master." Xiao Xi immediately understood that his master wanted him to find out where these 2 girls lived and where they came from. He ran away as fast as a rabbit. This was a good chance to make up for his mistake. If he lost them again, he wouldn't have the face to go back and see his master. Chen Ning held Xiao Ru's hand and walked out of the main entrance of the Taihe floor. After passing through 2 streets, Xiao Ru still had a dreamy expression on her face. "Young miss, pinch me hard. I feel like I'm dreaming." "That's right, I must be dreaming." Her bosom was bulging with banknotes, and her arms were tightly folded in front of her chest. Her face revealed an infatuated smile. Chen Ning stopped walking and looked at her. She found it both funny and funny. Wasn't it just 1,000 taels banknote? She didn't even put it in her eyes. Was there a need for this girl to be so happy like a fool? No. She had to cure this girl's shallow eyelids. Chen Ning's eyes turned and she had already thought of a good idea. When she was about to pull Xiao Ru over to carry it out, she glanced over and saw a figure flash behind her. Although the figure was very fast, Chen Ning could still recognize it with a single glance. She. It was the up. Up. He saw. He must have been ordered by his master to follow him here. A deep as ink gaze appeared in Chen Ning's mind. It was the black-clothed man. In the restaurant, although she did not look at him, she knew that he was looking at her. He was looking at her with a curious gaze. Chen Ning could not understand what she had done to arouse this man's interest. Was it because she had jokingly called him a stupid person with a lot of money? She did not know him, but he had suddenly appeared to help her. Chen Ning did not want to accept his good intentions at all. Chapter 69. This is really strange. How long have they been in there? Why haven't they come out yet? The blue-clothed youth Xiao Xi muttered. He was guarding in an inconspicuous corner, his eyes fixed on a clothing store diagonally across from him. This store's business was very good, with many people coming in and out. There were men and women, young and old. He was afraid that if he blinked, he would miss something. 2 hours ago, he had seen Chen Ning and Xiao Ru laughing and talking as they walked into this store. Then he stood there, not daring to blink, but he did not see the two of them come out. If he did not know that this clothing store only had a front door and no back door, he would have thought that Chen Ning and Xiao Ru had left through the back door. He stared until his eyes were sore and his legs were weak, but he still did not see the two of them come out. When the store closed and the boss came out to close the door, Xiao Si finally couldn't help rushing over. "Don't close it. Don't close it. There are still 2 girls inside that haven't come out yet," he shouted. "Go, go, go. Where did this brat come from, actually coming here to find girls? This is a clothing store. If you want to find girls, go to the Red Joy building across the street." The boss pushed Xiao Si to the side and continued to close the door. Xiao Si was anxious as he charged into the store. The boss could not stop him as he angrily glared at him. There was not a single person in the store. Xiao Si looked around twice and scratched his head in confusion. Where did they go? Why did they disappear? Just like last time, he had clearly seen the two of them walk into an alley, but when he chased after them, the 2 girls had disappeared without a trace. This was exactly the same as last time. Could it be that these 2 girls were not mortals? If they weren't immortals, then they were ghosts. Xiao Si suddenly gave a cold shiver. "Stinky brat, are you here to cause trouble? You're so young yet you don't learn good things, actually coming to a clothing store to find girls. Why aren't you scramming for me?" The boss grabbed Xiao Si's collar. "Boss, I'm here to find 2 good girls, not the kind of girls you're talking about. There were 2 girls that clearly came in an hour ago, but they still haven't come out. They are a master and a servant. 1 girl is a bit older and 1 girl is a bit younger. 1 girl is this tall and the other girl is this short." Xiao Si was anxious as he described the appearance of Chen Ning and her servant. But his eloquence was really not that great. Adding on the fact that there were many people coming and going from the boutique, how could the boss remember? Seeing that he was still calling Xiao Si a lady, he picked up the door and kicked him out. He chased Xiao Si out of the door before angrily turning back into the shop and slamming the door shut. "See? Father doesn't have girls here." Xiao Si's nose was almost flattened. He stared at the tightly shut shop door and wanted to cry but had no tears. It was over. He had messed up the task that his master had given him. How could he still have the face to report back to his master? What he couldn't understand was that the 2 girls had disappeared into thin air again. Could it be that they had escaped into the sky? Of course Chen Ning was not an immortal, nor was she a monster. She did not have the ability to fly into the sky or escape into the earth. After discovering that Xiao Si was secretly following her, she brought Xiao Ru into a clothing store. She picked out a set of men's clothes for herself and found a scholar's scarf. After putting it on, she looked into the mirror, looking like a young scholar. Chapter 70. Xiao Ru had never seen this kind of bright-colored dress before. Her face turned red and she refused to wear it, so Chen Ning forced her to wear it. The beautiful red dress was like a beautiful scenery. As soon as Xiao Ru appeared on the street, she immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Xiao Ru's face was the same color as her dress and she was too embarrassed to raise her head. Chen Ning held Xiao Ru's hand and walked past Xiao Si like this, slipping away. When they walked past, Xiao Si's eyes couldn't help falling onto Xiao Ru's red dress. He muttered, "Such a bright red dress." He did not look at Chen Ning and her servant again as he stretched his neck to look at the entrance of the clothing store. He never would have thought that Chen Ning would change her appearance. The young man and woman wearing bright-colored clothes that walked past him were the targets he was following. After Chen Ning was sure that she had thrown off Xiao Si, she brought Xiao Ru back to the King Ding Yuan palace without anyone noticing. Today's harvest was quite good. After they returned to the little courtyard, Xiao Ru placed the silver bills on the bed and counted them until her hands were cramping. "Eldest miss, what was written on that piece of paper of yours? Why did the shopkeeper give you 1,000 taels of silver without batting an eye? And he didn't even take the money for the meal." After Xiao Ru hid the silver bills, she finally remembered the question that she had been ignoring this whole time. When Chen Ning was writing on the paper, although she was standing beside Chen Ning, she didn't know how to read. Even if she saw it, she wouldn't have understood it. "Actually, it's nothing, it's just a recipe," Chen Ning casually said. "Recipe? Could it be the recipe for the 4 dishes young miss was talking about?" Xiao Ru's eyes opened wide. "That's right." Chen Ning nodded with a smile. "Can you really make those 4 dishes? It's not something young miss made up to deceive people?" Chen Ning knocked on Xiao Ru's head and scolded with a smile, "When have you ever seen me deceive people?" Xiao Ru was stunned and couldn't answer. She tilted her head and thought about it. The young miss did not seem to have deceived anyone, but it seemed like she was deceiving people everywhere. Especially when she smiled like a fox, she always had a feeling that someone was going to suffer. "That's right, young miss, that lots of money clearly took out the gold to pay for us. Why didn't you accept it?" Xiao Ru thought about it and asked. Chen Ning's face sunk when she heard this. "Xiao Ru, of course, remember, although we are women, we still need to live with integrity. That lots of money is not related to us, so why should we accept his gold? As the saying goes, a gentleman loves money, but he gets it in the right way. I do like money, but I only like money that I earn with my own abilities. That way, I can spend it with confidence. Do you understand?" Xiao Ru's face was filled with shame as she lowered her head and said, "Young miss, this servant was wrong." Chen Ning patted her shoulder and said with a smile, "You didn't do anything wrong. It's like the money in those cheap men's pockets, we should think of a way to help them spend it." Chen Ning blinked as she looked at Chen Ning. She felt like the young miss had turned into a fox again. Chen Ning called Chun Tao and Xia He over and asked, "While I wasn't in the palace today, was there any news?" The 2 maids looked at each other and bit their lips, not daring to say anything. "If you have anything to say, then say it. Even if the sky falls, this princess will be here for you," Chen Ning shouted. When the 2 of them heard this, their hearts filled with confidence. Chapter 71. Chen Ning said in a strange voice, "It will make my heart sad." "What is it?" "His Highness has given a strict order to not let any doctor into the palace to treat you, and no one is allowed to visit you. He said that he wants you to fend for yourself." Xia He stopped, not daring to say anything else. She secretly looked at Chen Ning's face. When she and Chun Tao heard this news, they couldn't help feeling sad for Chen Ning. Although they knew that His Highness did not like the princess, they never thought that he would not like her to this degree. This was the same as forcing the princess to her death. It was a good thing that the princess was not injured. If she had been punished by the family, she would have been heartbroken after hearing this news. Even if she didn't die from the pain, she would die from the pain. Who would have thought that Xia He would not see a single trace of sadness on Chen Ning's face? Rather, she slightly curled her lips and revealed a smile. "Oh, I'm fending for myself," Chen Ning said with a smile. She didn't even need to think to know that for Chu Xiaoyang to say these words, it must be because Chen Baiyun had given her quite a bit of eye medicine in front of Chu Xiaoyang, giving him quite a bit of pillow talk. It seemed like her good little sister would not give up until she reached the Yellow River. If she didn't die for a day, perhaps Chen Baiyun would not be able to sleep peacefully. Chen Ning could not understand. What kind of deep hatred did she have with her half-sister that she would want her life? For a man, was it worth it? She really wanted to loudly tell Chen Baiyun that the man she treated as a treasure, she did not care about him at all. Whoever wanted him could have him. But in order to obtain this man, Chen Baiyun had tried to harm her again and again. She had already touched her bottom line. If it wasn't for the fact that Chen Baiyun was pregnant, she would have let her go in the wedding hole. Otherwise, Chen Baiyun would not be able to bear the consequences right now. She would make Chen Baiyun pay the price in blood for her actions. This was really a case of people not harming the tiger, but the tiger harming people. Chen Ning revealed a taunting smile. "Xia He, help me get something." The other side had already tried to take her life again and again. If she did not retaliate, wouldn't she be letting this cheap man and woman roam free? "Yes, princess. What do you want?" Xia He was a bit nervous. "I want a recipe for tomorrow's breakfast for Chu Xiaoyang and his concubine, the more detailed the better." "Bai He, can you do this?" Xia He let out a sigh of relief. "It can be done." Princess, this servant will go." She was really worried that the princess consort would ask her to make some arsenic poison. Even if she had 100 times more courage, she wouldn't dare do it. The cookbook came back with a long list. There were more than 30 exquisite dishes, as well as all kinds of porridge and desserts. Xiaoru sucked in a cold breath. "Your Highness and the second miss eat this much for breakfast?" Xiao. Thinking of the porridge and side dishes she had with eldest miss, she curled her lips indignantly. Xia He said, "I've heard that after the concubine consort became pregnant, His Highness doted on her even more. He ordered the kitchen staff to make different dishes for every meal." Chen Ning nodded. With just a glance, she remembered everything in her heart. Chen off. Chen Ning. Chen Xiao Ning, the Chen Lian looked. Chen Tao and Xia He both said, "This servant can make it. Does the princess consort want to eat?" Chen Ning said with a smile, "All right, but I've eaten too many normal water chestnut cakes, so I don't have much of an appetite. If I add half of the chestnut powder to the water chestnut cake, it will be fragrant and delicious. You should make a bit more and we can all eat it." Chen Ning smiled and said, "All right, but I've eaten too many normal water chestnut cakes, so I don't have much of an appetite. If I add half of the chestnut powder to the water chestnut cake, the chestnut water chestnut cake will be fragrant and delicious. You guys should make a bit more and we can all share it." Chapter 72. Xiaoru's eyes were wide open as she looked at Chen Ning with a puzzled expression. Although she could not guess what the young miss was playing at, she knew that the second miss and His Highness would soon be out of luck. But, what did the young miss want to do? Chen Tao and Xia He's culinary skills were not bad. The chestnut water chestnut cakes they made were sweet and delicious, melting in the mouth. "Princess consort, the water chestnut cakes you made are truly delicious. This servant has never eaten such a delicious water chestnut cake before." Xia He's mouth was very sweet as she quickly said this. Chen Tao couldn't help curling her lips, but she had to admit that Xia He's words were not flattery, but rather the truth. Such a delicious water chestnut cake, this servant believes that His Highness and the concubine consort will not be able to eat it. Chen Tao remembered that His Highness had a water chestnut cake on the menu for tomorrow. She thought that the princess consort was too angry, so she made her and Xia He make a better water chestnut cake. She thought that she had correctly guessed Chen Ning's thoughts, but who would have thought that Chen Ning would shake her head with a smile? "It's better to have fun together than to have fun alone. Since you all say that the water chestnut cake with chestnut powder is more delicious, how could this princess hide it? Xia He, you can tell the kitchen about this method. Also, we won't be able to eat all of this water chestnut cake, so you can give the rest to them to try." Chen Ning smiled as she pointed at the pastries on the table. Yes, the princess consort is considerate of her servants, they will definitely be grateful to the princess consort. Chun Tao and Xia He happily agreed as they left with the water chestnut cakes. They did not think too much about it, they just thought that this was the princess consort's way of buying people's hearts. Chen Ning narrowed her eyes in satisfaction. It was impolite not to reciprocate. Chu Xiaoyang, Chen Baiyun, this is another gift I've given you. I hope you like this gift of mine in return. Thinking about it, I'm really looking forward to it. She gave a lazy yawn. Xiao Ru, it's getting late, let's wash up and go to sleep. After Chen Ning washed up, she thought of the devilish handsome young man that came uninvited last night. She personally checked to see if the doors and windows were bolted. Only when she saw that every window was tightly shut and even the door was bolted did she feel relieved. When Xiao Ru saw Chen Ning's strange actions, she couldn't help feeling nervous. She said, "Young miss, are you worried that a thief will come in and steal our money? How about this servant doesn't sleep tonight? This servant will guard the money and not let this servant steal it." Chen Ning smiled as she pinched her nose. "Silly girl, I'm not guarding against a thief that steals money. Just obediently go to sleep for me, isn't it just 1,000 silver coins? Wait for this miss to bring you to earn more money tomorrow." When Xiao Ru heard the money, her eyes lit up. She happily agreed, lay down on the bed, and soon fell asleep. But Chen Ning was lying on the bed, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. It wasn't until the third watch that she finally fell asleep. She didn't know how long she slept, but she suddenly felt something strange and woke up from her dream. Before she went to bed, she deliberately left a candle in front of the bed, but now even the candle was extinguished without her knowing. Xiao Ru was sleeping. Only Xiao Ru, who was beside her, was breathing evenly. She had not woken up yet. But Chen Ning still felt that something was wrong. She suddenly raised her hand and touched her cheek. Her hand was wet and cold, with a faint scent of pine ink. Damn! Chapter 73. The ink had not dried yet, so it must have been drawn by that devilish young man. He must still be in the room. Sure enough, just as she finished speaking, a candle lit up faintly. In the orange light and shadow, a tall and slender figure sat in front of the table with one hand supporting his chin. His jet-black long hair covered half of his delicate eyebrows, revealing only half of his perfect profile. His gem-like eyes stared at Chen Ning for a moment and his lips revealed a smile. It was as beautiful as the mountains and rivers, making him look like he did not belong to the mortal world. Even if Chen Ning did not like him, she was still shocked by his charming smile. "Calling me a little stinky brat as soon as we meet, aren't you afraid of hurting my heart?" The beautiful young man looked at Chen Ning with a look of resentment. Chen Ning gave a shiver and felt goosebumps all over her body from being disgusted by him. "Speak properly for me." Chen Ning angrily grabbed a pillow and threw it at him. She shouted, "If you dare discuss me again, do you believe that I won't slap you again?" The pillow naturally did not hit him. The beautiful young man gently dodged and the pillow fell to the ground. But when he thought of the slap he received last night, his face turned red and his expression became a bit more serious. Chen Ning turned over and stood up. It was like she already knew that this devilish young man would appear in her room in the middle of the night, so she still had her clothes on. She walked over to the bronze mirror in front of the dresser and looked at it. As expected, there were two little animals drawn on her cheeks. Only this time it was not a wolf and a fox, but rather a little porcupine with sharp teeth and a little turtle with 4 claws facing the sky on the other cheek. These two drawings were even more vivid, especially the little turtle that was trying to turn over but could not. It was very lifelike, making people unable to stop themselves from laughing. Chen Ning held it in and didn't let out a laugh. She did not want to give this beautiful young man a good look. What do you mean by drawing these two fellows on my face, on? She raised her brows and revealed a smile as she looked at the beautiful young man. That beautiful young man suddenly became excited. He pointed at the little porcupine and said with a smile, "This is you and that is my third brother." Don't you think it's similar? Chen Ning almost broke down again. This brat had actually drawn Chu Xiaoyang as a turtle. Why am I a porcupine and he is a turtle? Chen Ning stared at him and said in a displeased voice. Because in my heart, all of you are like this. Your body is covered in thorns and no matter who it is, as long as they get close to you, they will bleed. What is this if not a porcupine? As for my third brother, sooner or later, he will be like this tortoise, suppressed by you until he can't turn over, hee. The beautiful youth smiled and winked, his dark pupils shimmering with light. He smiled and picked up the brush. This turtle is still missing a tail. I didn't have time to draw it before you woke up. How about I add a tail for you? Fuck your turtle tail. Chen Ning scolded. She took a step back and dodged the young man's brush. Although she liked the beautiful youth comparing Chu Xiaoyang to a turtle that couldn't turn over, it did not mean that she was willing to appear in front of everyone with a turtle drawn on her face. Do you think my painting isn't good enough? You? Then what do you like? I can draw whatever you like and I guarantee that it will be very lifelike. The beautiful young man took advantage of this opportunity and spoke with a smile. Chapter 74. Chen Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes as she was speechless once again. This handsome young man seemed to be crazy, but not crazy. He kept pestering her and always appeared in her room in the middle of the night. She couldn't understand what he wanted to do. Did he really want to draw on her face with his childish heart? Or did he want to take revenge for the palm she gave him last time? Where did you come from? Chen Ning couldn't help staring at him with suspicion. She had clearly checked the doors and windows and found that they were all tightly locked. Could it be that this young man knew the heaven escaping technique? The beautiful young man seemed to have guessed her thoughts. He raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Not to mention your place, even if it was a heavily guarded palace, I would still be able to come and go as I please." Really? I don't believe you. Chen Ning shook her head. She found that the doors and windows were still locked and there were no signs of them being moved. But this young man seemed to have fallen from the sky, it was just too strange. You don't believe me. Alright, then I'll bring you to experience it. As soon as his voice fell, the beautiful young man suddenly rushed over to Chen Ning's side. His movements were as fast as the wind. Chen Ning felt her vision blur and then her waist tightened. There was an extra arm in front of her. The beautiful young man gently touched her body, stopping Chen Ning from letting out a cry of surprise. He revealed a faint smile and gently floated up. With a wave of his sleeves, 2 tiles on the roof flew up, revealing a hole that could fit the 2 of them. Chen Ning's eyes opened wide. She finally understood how the beautiful young man had come to her room. She had been on guard, but she never thought that he would really fall from the sky. The beautiful young man's arm wrapped around her waist, effortlessly carrying her like he was carrying a baby. He jumped onto the roof and used his qigong, bringing her across the roofs and walls. Chen Ning's eyes opened wide in surprise. She was currently flying through the air, with the sound of the wind whistling in her ears. Under the moonlight, she could clearly see the roofs, trees, and flowers flying by her feet. But she was not afraid at all, rather she was filled with a strange kind of excitement. So this was the feeling of freely flying through the air. So this was the legendary qigong. Chen Ning forgot about her disgust for the beautiful young man and wholeheartedly enjoyed this new experience. She did not know where the beautiful young man was taking her, she only knew that she had left the King Ding Yuan palace and had arrived at a high roof. Standing here, she could look over the entire capital city. It was like she was stepping on the entire city. The beautiful young man let go of Chen Ning's waist and released her acupuncture point. With a smile, he said, "If you accidentally fall, I won't save you." Chen Ning glared at him, but she was quickly attracted by the beautiful scenery in front of her and did not have any thoughts. In the darkness of the night, the vast capital seemed to be shrouded in a hazy white gauze. It was like a graceful girl had used a mysterious veil to cover her beautiful appearance, but it only made it even more tempting to wild and fanciful thoughts. The buildings around her were even more magnificent. Although it was night time, one could still feel a sense of solemnity, majesty, and heaviness. Chen Ning's and she would be it. She looked thoughtfully at the building under the ridge. It seemed that the young man had not lied to her. He had really brought her to the palace. Chapter 75. Come and see me every day. This young man's words were easy to say. Chen Ning couldn't help giving a laugh. What, you don't believe me? The young man raised his eyebrows. His black and white eyes reflected the moonlight, looking strangely bright. I believe. Of course I believe. Chen Ning quickly nodded. She thought of this young man's personality of doing what he said. She was really afraid that he would fly into her room every night and bring her out. Then she wouldn't be able to sleep well in the future. She raised her head. The deep blue sky reflected the specks of stars, which seemed to be within reach. Her childish heart suddenly came out and she smiled as she reached out her hands. She was about to reach out and grab the moon, but her feet suddenly slipped and she couldn't help falling down the stairs. Her heart was about to jump out. If she fell down, wouldn't her body be smashed to pieces? Her wrist suddenly tightened and her body spun in the air. When she fell down, she fell into a warm and firm embrace. In front of her was a magnified handsome face. The two of them were very close and the young man's nose was almost touching hers. Their breaths could be smelled and there was a clear aura coming from his body that was slowly being released. Chen Ning and the young man's eyes were wide open. She could clearly see her own reflection in his eyes. His eyes were dark and deep, just like a bottomless well. When a person saw it, they couldn't help but be sucked in. She was stunned for a moment. Under the starlight, her eyes were strangely bright. It was like a sky full of stars had fallen into her eyes. The light was dazzling and dazzling. The young man had never seen such beautiful eyes before. His breathing stopped and his heart began to beat faster. Little stinky brat, thank you for saving me. Can you let go of me now? Chen Ning suddenly said. This position was too ambiguous. It was as if her entire body was in his embrace. There was no distance between the two of them. She could almost hear his powerful and rapid heartbeat. She didn't know why, but she only felt a slight warmth on her face. It was very awkward. Her words instantly broke the ambiguous atmosphere between the two of them, causing all the fantasies that had just arisen in the young man's heart to completely disappear. You! The beautiful young man fiercely grinded his teeth and waved his fist at Chen Ning. He angrily threatened, if you call me a little stinky brat again, do you believe that you what? Do you still want to hit me? Chen Ning raised her nose in disdain. She did not believe that this brat would dare hit her. Humph, I never hit women. But if you dare call me that again, I'll kiss you. He blurted out. His gaze happened to fall on her red and tender cherry lips. Her full lips were like a ripe and tempting fruit, making him suddenly have the urge to taste them. What did you say? Chen Ning was stunned, thinking that she had heard him wrong. The young man was also stunned. He didn't expect that he would say something like that. His handsome face was instantly covered with a layer of embarrassment. He lowered his eyes, not daring to look at her clear eyes. Her body was soft as if it didn't have any bones, softly leaning against his chest. The wind blew her hair across the tip of his nose, tickling him, bringing with it a sweet scent, making him unable to stop his imagination from running wild. Chen, I said, if you call me a little stinky brat again, I'll bite you. The young man purposely revealed a fierce expression as he revealed his snow-white teeth at Chen Ning. But Chen Ning saw through his disguise and couldn't help pursing her lips into a smile. A little stinky brat really is a little stinky brat, he's actually shy. Chapter 76. Her smile made the young man angry out of shame. He glared at her and let go of her. The moment she left his embrace, he actually felt a sense of reluctance. His arms moved slightly, as if he wanted to pull her delicate body back into his embrace. This was the first time he had hugged a girl since he was 19. He never knew that a girl's body was this light and this soft, as if it would melt with a single touch. He did not dare use any strength at all. Hey, little. It's almost daybreak, send me back. Chen Ning almost blurted out the words, little stinky brat, but it was a good thing she stopped herself. She was afraid that this young man would do what he said. If he really kissed her without a care, she wouldn't be able to hide even if she wanted to. But although she did not say it, the young man knew what she meant. He glared at her and angrily said, I'm called Chu Xiaobai. Chen Ning was stunned. Chu Xiaobai. It was around the same as Chu Xiaoyang. It didn't sound like a good name, so what was there to be proud of? It was better to just call him Xiaobai. Chen Ning muttered in her stomach, but her face revealed a smile as she praised, so you're called Chu Xiaobai. Woo, this name is good and has a good meaning. It's rare in the heavens, red lips and white teeth. You really live up to your name, it's 100 times better than your third brother's name. Good words came out of her mouth and she did not even blink when she lied, as if it was the truth. She knew that if she did not pacify this brat, he would throw her on top of the high palace in a fit of anger. She would not be able to call for help even if she called for help from the heavens. Stop flattering me. Do you think I'm a child that can just lie to me? Contrary to her expectations, Chu Xiaobai had seen through her thoughts with a single glance. He raised his chin and straightened his chest, making his figure seem even taller. He was almost a head taller than her. She almost had to look up to see his face. Damn little stinky brat, why are you this tall? Chen Ning angrily said in her heart, but she still said with a serious face, that's right, of course you're not a child. I never lie to children, but it's still daybreak. Send me back, all right? Not good. Chu Xiaobai coldly looked at her. Why? Because I'm not happy. Chu Xiaobai pulled a long face and did not even look at Chen Ning. He suddenly jumped down the stairs and his body floated like a white cloud. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. Chen Ning was stunned. This damned arrogant fellow, he actually walked away by himself, leaving her alone on the roof of a tall building. She couldn't go up to the sky, nor could she go down to the ground. She also didn't know Qinggong. Was he trying to trap her to death? Little stinky brat. Chu Xiaobai, you're just a little brat that hasn't grown up. Chu Xiaobai, she couldn't help cursing. Try calling me that again. Suddenly, a sinister voice sounded behind her. Chen Ning suddenly turned around and almost bumped into a person's nose. That person was too close, so close that she could only see the other side's eyes filled with anger. I've said it before, if you dare call me little wimp again, I'll... He said through gritted teeth. His gaze lowered and landed on her slightly opened red lips. Chen Ning almost bit off her tongue in regret. Chapter 77. She could immediately guess what kind of bad thoughts this little naughty brat had in his heart. Humph, what little naughty brat, he was simply a little pervert. You dare. Her face sunk. Why wouldn't I dare? Not only did he not retreat, he took a step forward. The two of them were already very close. When he came closer, his nose almost touched hers and his lips almost touched her lips. Chen Ning instinctively moved back, wanting to avoid his touch. But she forgot that the ground under her feet was not flat, but rather the roof tiles. She missed a step and her body fell backwards, falling to the ground. Ah! As soon as she let out a shocked cry, Chu Xiaobai's long arm reached out and grabbed her wrist. Half of her body was in the air. If it wasn't for him grabbing her in time, she would have already fallen down and turned into a pile of meat paste. Call me good big brother and I'll save you, otherwise I'll let go. Chu Xiaobai curled his lips and revealed a smile that could captivate all living beings, but the words he said almost angered Chen Ning half to death. You dare. She glared at him with gritted teeth. You can see if I dare, he said, smiling calmly, and suddenly loosened his grip. Chen Ning fell down. The wind blew past her ears and her heart almost jumped out of her chest. Damn Chu Xiaobai, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Just as she was cursing in her heart, she suddenly felt her wrist being grabbed by someone again. Chu Xiaobai looked at her pale face and revealed a smile. He calmly said, "Are you going to call me or not?" At this point, Chen Ning had no choice but to lower her head. She cursed Chu Xiaobai half to death in her heart and also cursed herself half to death. She could not understand why her mental age was clearly older than Chu Xiaobai by several years, but she had been tricked by him to this kind of embarrassing point. Once she escaped from this predicament, she would definitely take revenge for today. Chu Xiaobai, little naughty brat, just you wait. Her heart was filled with hatred, but she still looked up and revealed a sweet smile. Good big brother, pull me up, all right. There were hedgehogs and tortoises drawn on her cheeks, covering her beautiful appearance. However, her voice was very clear, delicate, and soft. In the quiet night, it was very pleasant to listen to. Chu Xiaobai's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Your voice is too soft, I didn't hear it clearly. Speak a bit louder. He had not heard enough and wanted to hear more. Chen Ning gritted her teeth in anger, but she still called him 3 times. Good brother, good brother, good brother. Her voice was clearer and sweeter than the one before. Good. Chu Xiaobai's heart was filled with joy and satisfaction. Then he raised his right hand and pulled her up. Hey, do you want a drink? Chen Ning stabilized herself and her heart was still beating fast. Chu Xiaobai took out a wine jug like magic and placed it in front of her. Of course. She was scared half to death just now and wanted to drink some wine to calm her nerves. She grabbed the wine jug and directly drank a few mouthfuls. Then she smacked her lips and said with a look of disgust, "This wine doesn't taste good. It's far worse than the pear blossom white I drank yesterday. Xiaobai, the wine in your palace doesn't taste good." Only then did she realize that he had suddenly disappeared to get some wine. She had thought that he had abandoned her and ran off alone. She finally realized that he had disappeared just now because he had gone to get the wine. She had thought that he had left her behind and ran off. She thought the wine didn't taste good. Chapter 78. This is an aged wine that has been stored in the palace for nearly 30 years. Even the royal family and nobles rarely get to drink it. I purposely stole it from the wine cellar of the imperial kitchen. This wine has a strong after effect. If you drink it like this, you will easily get drunk, he kindly reminded. Drunk? I'm telling you, this miss has never been drunk before. The wind blew and Chin Ning's tongue was a bit loud. Her body was also a bit swaying. She remembered that in the Tai He floor yesterday, she had drunk 20 cups of pear white wine in a row, but she was not drunk at all. This meant that her alcohol tolerance was very high. She had only drunk a few mouthfuls and Chu Xiaobai actually said she would get drunk. What a joke, he was clearly trying to scare her. Xiaobai, I think you're just unwilling to give up this 30-year-old wine, right? If you don't want me to drink, then I'll drink it. She once again raised the wine jug and poured it into her mouth. Unfortunately, before she could drink 2 mouthfuls, her body tilted and she fell to the ground. Chu Xiaobai was already prepared. He reached out his hand and grabbed her. Her soft body fell into his embrace. A soft and fragrant body filled his embrace, but Chu Xiaobai did not feel any joy in his heart. He revealed a bitter smile as he looked at Chin Ning in his embrace. She had already closed her eyes and her cheeks were completely red. Even the hedgehog and turtle paintings could not hide the redness of her skin and her breath was filled with the smell of alcohol. She was drunk. Chu Xiaobai held the unconscious drunker and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He did not plan on getting her drunk, but who would have thought that she would drink like this? It really was killing him. It made his head double. Good wine. Give me another cup. She suddenly spoke in a drunken manner. She raised the wine jug in her hand into the air, raising a cup to the bright moon, facing the shadow of 3 people. Cheers. Her hand tilted and the wine jug fell to the ground. Chu Xiaobai did not know whether to laugh or cry. He never thought that she would be so poetic after being drunk and start reciting poems. That's not right. He suddenly knit his brows. Didn't they all say that the Qin family's young miss was an ignorant idiot? But she was able to recite these 2 poems after being drunk and they were very vivid. He believed that even the most talented person in the capital, Zhang Hanlin, would not be able to write such a good poem. This young Miss Qin, she really was a mystery that no one could understand. From the first time he saw her in the wedding hall, he felt that she was very interesting and had his interest piqued. Who would have thought that the closer he got to her, the more he realized that she really was different from all the other women he had seen before. It was as if he had come from another world. Go home, I really want to go home. Chen Ning turned around in his arms and muttered this sentence in an unclear voice. All right, I'll send you home. Chu Xiaobai gritted his teeth. He felt as if there was a huge rock pressing down on his heart, making him feel stuffy. She clearly knew that third brother's sweetheart was her younger sister. She clearly knew that third brother didn't like her and usually didn't care about her. But when she got drunk, she kept nagging about going home. Could it be that third brother's position in her heart was really that important? She knew that it was a golden cage, but she was willing to live in it, unwilling to fly out of the cage to enjoy freedom. I don't want to stay here, I want to go home. There's nothing here, I want a fridge, a phone, a computer, a microwave. Oh, I also want a toilet. Chen Ning gave a hiccup and mumbled in her sleep. Chapter 79. She was really drunk and began to speak nonsense. He could not understand a single word she said. He stared at her blushing drunken face and suddenly felt a sense of pity in his heart. He tightened his arms around her. If third brother can't see how good you are and doesn't know how to love you, then there will be other people in this world who will understand you, love you, and treat you well. He spoke in a soft voice, but word for word. He slowly moved a strand of her hair behind her ear, revealing her delicate face. Looking at the hedgehog and turtle he had drawn on her face, he suddenly felt that the turtle was very irritating. Chen Ning was drunk. The consequence of being drunk was that when she woke up, she would have a splitting headache. She held her head and gave a groan. She opened her eyes and found that she was lying on the bed with Xiao Ru looking at her with a worried expression. "Young miss, are you sick? Why is your face so red? Also, your body is filled with the smell of alcohol. Did you drink alcohol? When you were sleeping last night, did this servant notice that you drank alcohol?" When Xiao Ru saw that Chen Ning had woken up, she let out a sigh of relief. But her series of questions made Chen Ning unable to answer. Her head was still a little dizzy and unclear. Did that handsome young man really come last night? Did he really bring her out of the prince's mansion and fly to the top of the imperial palace? Also, she clearly had a good alcohol tolerance, so how could she be drunk after drinking a few mouthfuls of wine? Woo, it must be the pear blossom wine I drank in the Tai He floor yesterday. That wine is really strong. Chen Ning lied without changing her expression. She really did not know how to explain the matter of Chu Xiaobai to Xiao Ru. If she said it, she would definitely scare her half to death. So it's like this. You scared this servant to death. This servant thought that the young miss wouldn't wake up. Xiao Ru's eyes were still red, but hearing Chen Ning's words, her tears turned into a smile. Don't jinx it, if you keep cursing me, be careful that I don't hit your butt. Go, use a handkerchief to wash my face. Chen Ning smiled as she scolded her. She lazily got up and looked out the window. She couldn't help being shocked. When she woke up, she found that the sun was already in the west and the courtyard was covered in a red glow. She had been drunk for this long. Damn Xiao Bai, it was all his fault. Why did he make her drink wine for no reason? Chen Ning angrily ground her teeth. She suddenly thought of something and rubbed her face. She walked over to the copper mirror and looked at the bronze mirror. The little hedgehog with sharp teeth was still on her left cheek, but the tortoise on her right cheek was gone. In its place was a majestic lion. She did not even need to think to know that it was Chu Xiaobai. But why did he wipe the turtle and replace it with a lion? He couldn't be trying to use this method to warn himself that his third brother was a lion's, but that couldn't be touched, right? Chen Ning of Chu. Chen Ning angrily picked up the towel and wiped the two animals off her face, not leaving a single trace. Xiao 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 of Xiao Xiao of Xiao. She felt that eldest Mrs. habit of drawing on her face in the middle of the night was a little strange, but the little animals she drew were really cute. She couldn't get enough of them. Missy, if you like to draw, can you draw on my face in the future? Xiao Ru's words almost made Chen Ning spit out a mouthful of blood. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she looked at Xiao Ru. What kind of eyes do you have? You still like this kind of ugly painting? Don't you feel ashamed wearing this kind of painting? Chapter 80. Chen Ning was completely speechless. She thought about it and said, "All right, as long as you help me with something, I'll draw it for you tonight. As long as the young miss orders it, this servant will do it no matter what it is." Xiao Ru happily clapped her hands. "Come closer." Chen Ning called Xiao Ru over and whispered a few words into her ear. Xiao Ru nodded her head. When they were eating dinner, Chen Ning looked up and looked over at Chun Tao and Xia He. "If you have something to say, just say it. What are you whispering about?" She could already see that the two maids' expressions were different from normal. There was a bit of excitement, a bit of nervousness, and a bit of schadenfreude. Yes, princess consort. The two maidservants couldn't hold it in any longer. Hearing Chen Ning say this, they immediately poured everything out like a bamboo tube, taking turns to speak. After His Highness finished morning court, he went straight to the concubine's intoxicated flower pavilion. I heard that His Highness was angry. His face wasn't his face and his nose wasn't his nose. When His Highness entered the intoxicated flower pavilion, he threw a big tantrum at the concubine's concubine. I heard that His Highness ate something bad during breakfast. In the end, during morning court, he made a big fool of himself in court. Chen Ning couldn't help asking, "Oh, what kind of fool?" She raised her eyebrows, her face full of interest. The two maids covered their mouths and giggled. They pushed and shoved each other as if they were too embarrassed to say anything. Reporting to the princess consort, this servant heard from His Highness' follower, Shaoanzi, that His Highness began to release a strange smell the moment he left the palace. The smell was very strange, but Shaoanzi did not dare say anything and endured it the entire way. Even when His Highness was on his way back from court, he was still releasing this kind of smell. Xia He had a strange expression as she spoke with a smile. This servant also heard that the concubine's stomach had been upset for the entire morning. The smell in the room was very bad and His Highness staggered when he went in. That concubine's incense could not cover the smell, so His Highness angrily turned around and left. He said that he would never eat breakfast in the intoxicated flower pavilion again. Chun Tao giggled and added. These two maids were originally people from the King Ding Yuan Palace, but after following Qin Ning, they began to respect her more and more. At the same time, they began to look down on His Highness Chu Xiaoyang. For such a good person like the princess consort to be disliked by him, he truly had eyes but could not see. So when they heard the news of Chu Xiaoyang and Chen Baiyun's misfortune, the two of them felt like they were watching a good show. Xiao Ru was grinning from ear to ear as she kept asking the two of them for details. When they were happy, the three of them broke out in laughter. Chen Ning did not stop them, she just smiled at them. She was in a very good mood and this dinner was especially delicious. She felt that Chun Tao and Xia He's cooking skills were not any worse than the chefs in the Tai He floor. Young miss, although you don't say it, this servant knows that the matter between His Highness and the second miss was done by you, right? Xiao Ru had grown up with Chen Ning since they were young. She took advantage of Chen Ning taking her out to digest and couldn't help asking. Chen Ning did not hide it and smiled as she nodded, "That's right, it was done by me." After saying this, she rubbed Xiao Ru's nose in praise and said with a smile, "I really couldn't tell, but you've grown quite a bit recently. You can even guess this." Chapter 81. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "So it's like this." Xiao Ru pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve and begged, "Young miss, don't keep us in suspense. Quickly tell this servant, all right?" She kept guessing and felt that the problem was with the water chestnut cakes. But they had all eaten water chestnut cakes before, so there was no problem. Moreover, the young miss had never been to the kitchen before. Even if she wanted to do something to the water chestnut cakes, it would be impossible. "All right, I'll tell you, but it's fine as long as you know it. You can't tell Chun Tao and Xia He. They haven't been with me for long, so it's hard to say if they treat me sincerely or not. You have to keep this a secret, do you understand?" Chen Ning was worried about Xiao Ru's big mouth, so she specifically warned her. Xiao Ru nodded, "Young miss, you can be assured. This servant will definitely keep this a secret and won't say a single word." Chen Ning smiled and said, "Actually it's very simple. Yesterday, I had Chun Tao and Xia He mix half of the chestnut powder in the water chestnut cake and had them send it to the kitchen for the people making the dessert to taste. They will feel that the water chestnut cake with the chestnut powder is more delicious and Qin Baiyun's breakfast menu has water chestnut cakes. In order to please the concubine Qin Baiyun, they will definitely add chestnut powder into the water chestnut cake." Xiao Ru scratched her head and said in a puzzled voice, "But we've all eaten water chestnut cakes with chestnut powder before. They didn't release that kind of gas." Chen Ning tapped Xiao Ru's forehead and said with a smile, "This is only one of the reasons, there is another." The menu also has a beef stew. This beef can nourish the stomach and nourish the body, so it is a very good food for people. However, this beef has a taboo, which is that it cannot be eaten with chestnuts. If we drink the beef stew and eat the water chestnut cakes at the same time, what do you think will happen? She smiled as she looked at Xiao Ru. Her clear eyes revealed a sly glow like a fox. Xiao Ru was suddenly enlightened. She clapped her hands and said with a smile, "Ha, ha, I know, I know. If we eat both at the same time, we will be like His Highness and the second Miss, constantly releasing that kind of gas." The two of them looked at each other and broke out in laughter. The more Xiao Ru thought about it, the more convinced she was. She couldn't help saying, "Young miss, how did you think of such a strange method? Can you teach this servant a bit?" "No." Chen Ning shook her head in a serious manner. Xiao Ru had a sad face. "Ning, you, Xiao Ru." Chen Ning smiled and said, "It's because you're too pure. Even if I taught you, you wouldn't be able to do it. By the way, have you done what I asked you to do?" "It's done. I hid it under the bed." "Eldest miss, what do you need it for?" Ning, Chen, Ning, Ning, Chen, Ning, Chen. Xiao Ru Ning Chen. In the 3rd month, hundreds of flowers were in full bloom. The prince's mansion was filled with exotic flowers that competed with each other in beauty. The sky in the west was red like fire, and the beautiful flowers looked even more beautiful under the sunlight. I didn't expect the prince's mansion to have such a beautiful scenery. When the peach blossoms have all fallen and become plump and moist, we can come here and eat to our heart's content. Chapter 82. Xiao Ru couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. This servant loves eating peaches the most. The peach blossoms here are so beautiful, the peaches that come out will definitely be big and sweet. "I-oh." Chen Ning suddenly let out a soft cry. She had only been admiring the peach blossoms and did not notice that a peach branch had caught her hairpin. She gently struggled and the hairpin was lifted by the peach branch. Her jet black hair fell down her back like a waterfall. "Young miss, wait a bit. I'll help you take the hairpin." Xiao Ru stretched out her arm to grab it, but she couldn't reach it. "I'll do it myself." Chen Ning revealed a faint smile. She stood on her tiptoes and used her left hand to grab the peach branch. Her right hand reached out and gently took the hairpin from the branch. Her wide sleeves fell down when she raised her arm, revealing a snow-white arm. Her skin was as white as snow and as clear as jade. The light of the setting sun shined through the gaps in the peach branches and onto her face. There was not a single trace of makeup on her face and her smile was clean and pure, without a trace of smoke or fire. Xiao Ru couldn't help being stunned. She already knew that the young miss was very beautiful, but the current Chen Ning was as beautiful as a peach blossom fairy. It made her unable to speak. "Silly girl, are you stunned from looking at the peach blossoms?" Chen Ning looked back. Seeing Xiao Ru's stunned appearance, she couldn't help pursing her lips into a smile. She pulled her hand and walked out of the forest. She was wearing a moon-white dress that revealed her soft and graceful waist. With the wind blowing on her dress, she looked like a lily swaying in the wind. Her silhouette became a delightful scenery in the eyes of others. What Chen Ning did not know was that when she and Xiao Ru walked into the peach blossom forest, Chu Xiaoyang was not far from them. Whenever he was in a bad mood, he would come to this peach blossom forest by himself. Today his mood was very bad. Not only was it bad, he was very irritable. He was irritable to the point that he wanted to kill someone. There was no other reason. No matter who it was, after being ridiculed by his colleagues in court for 2 days in a row, his mood would not be good. Especially today, not long after he had his breakfast, He felt as if his stomach was turning upside down. Streams of air rushed out of his stomach. Even with his profound internal energy, he couldn't hold it in. On the way to court, he had let out a ping 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 pang ping sound. It was a good thing that there was only Xiao and Zi beside him and no one else heard him. In court, he had thought that he had already controlled himself. But he never would have thought that when he went to court, the emperor would ask a question of his own. As soon as he opened his mouth to answer, the anger he had been holding back for a long time suddenly exploded. In front of the emperor and all the civil and military officials of the court, he let out an abnormally loud fart. He felt extremely embarrassed. He of the emperor and the ministers were all stunned. They did not realize that it was Chu Xiaoyang's fart at first because in all these years, no one had ever dared to fart in the royal court. They all thought that it was coming from somewhere, so they all turned to look. Following that, a strange smell assailed everyone's nostrils, causing everyone in the hall to cover their noses. Chu Xiaoyang felt that everyone was looking at him with strange gazes. His face turned red and he lowered his head. Who would have thought that after he let out a fart, the air that had been suppressed in his stomach for a long time would suddenly find an outlet and he would continuously let out a series of farts. Chapter 83. The throne room was solemn and solemn. It was a place where the ministers did not even dare to breathe. When he let out a series of farts, the sound was loud and clear, echoing for a long time. The ministers' hearts were filled with joy and they could not hold it in. Especially the ministers that had grudges with Chu Xiaoyang. When they saw Chu Xiaoyang make a fool of himself in front of everyone, they were filled with joy. But in front of the emperor, they still had to hold it in. No one dared to make a sound, so they could only endure it. Their faces turned red and their bodies twitched. Even the emperor, who was usually stern and unsmiling, could not help but twitch a few times. At that moment, Chu Xiaoyang wished he could find a pillar to smash his head against. He had thought that the scene in the wedding hall was the most humiliating moment of his life, but compared to the current situation, it paled in comparison. If there was a crack in the floor of the throne room, he would have jumped in without any hesitation. It was a good thing that his uncle, the emperor, gave his nephew a way out. He softly said, "King Dingyuan is not feeling well, there is no need for morning court. Go back to your palace and rest." It was like he had been pardoned as he walked out of the throne room in shame. On the way back to the palace, he would occasionally let out a fart or two. The anger in Chu Xiaoyang's chest was about to melt him, but he could not find a place to vent it. He didn't even need to think to know that the matter of him farting in court today would quickly spread throughout the capital. At that time, he would become a laughing stock and he would not be able to raise his head no matter where he went. Damn! He really deserved to die. He gritted his teeth in anger. When he got off the horse to return to the palace, he broke the wooden pole that tied the horse to him with a single punch. The anger in his chest had not been vented yet. He thought about it and felt that the main culprit was the breakfast that Chen Baiyun had carefully prepared. So he angrily went to the intoxicated flower pavilion to denounce her. Chen Baiyun had also been upset for the entire morning. As soon as Chu Xiaoyang stepped out of the door, she began to fart. Moreover, she did it one after the other. The beautiful room quickly became filled with an unbearable stench. She was about to faint from the smell of her own farts, but she did not dare leave the room. Because there were many people in the palace, how could she let others know of her shameful matter? If it reached His Highness' ears, the beautiful image of her in His Highness' heart would be destroyed. Her personal maid, Lan Xiang, grabbed several handfuls of spices and threw them into the incense burner. She also opened all the windows in the room, but the stench lingered for a long time. Chen Baiyun could not help feeling secretly anxious. If His Highness came to visit her and smelled this stench, of being, of course. Concubine consort, His Highness. He came back of the palace of the palace. What she was afraid of would come. Hearing Lan Xiang's report, Chen Baiyun even wanted to die. It was too late for her to hide now. The sound of Chu Xiaoyang's boots had already reached the door. Of face, Chen, Your Highness, you're back. Before he could finish his sentence, he heard a pu sound. The two of them were stunned at the same time, thinking that it was their own fart. Looking at each other, Chu Xiaoyang and Chen Baiyun both had awkward looks on their faces. This servant deserves to die. This servant did not do it on purpose, I really could not hold it in. I ask your highness and concubine consort for forgiveness. Lan Xiang knelt down with a thud and kowtowed. Chapter 84. Chu Xiaoyang's face turned livid with anger as he angrily shouted, "Scram!" Raising his foot, he sent Lan Xiang flying. Your Highness, it's all this concubine's fault for not teaching her properly. Your Highness, please forgive me. Chen Baiyun's face was filled with shame as she admitted her wrongs in a low voice. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold snort. Although he was angry, he knew that Chen Baiyun was pregnant and couldn't be angered. He could only endure it and walk into the room. Only when he stepped into the room, he was choked by a strange smell and couldn't help coughing. Chen Baiyun's face was as red as a piece of cloth as she said in a low voice, "This concubine has a bad stomach. Your Highness, please go rest somewhere else first." Normally when she saw Chu Xiaoyang come to the intoxicated flower pavilion, it was like a golden phoenix had fallen from the sky. She racked her brains to make him stay for a bit longer, but this was the first time she had taken the initiative to persuade Chu Xiaoyang to leave. But she couldn't force him. She could clearly see that the longer Chu Xiaoyang stayed, the uglier his face became. Even if she didn't take the initiative to say it, Chu Xiaoyang couldn't stay here any longer. He wasn't stupid, he didn't want to smell this strange smell in the room. You're pregnant, so it's best if you eat a light meal in the future. Also, this king doesn't like light foods, so you can eat breakfast by yourself in the future. After saying this, Chu Xiaoyang left without looking back. He left Chen Baiyun standing in the room in a daze. Looking at Chu Xiaoyang's back as he left, she bit her lip so hard that blood almost came out. Chu Xiaoyang left the intoxicated flower pavilion and went straight to the peach blossom forest. He didn't even let his personal attendant Xiao and Zi follow. He was lying on a peach branch, gently swaying in the wind. He was currently resting with his eyes closed, but when he heard the sound of footsteps approaching, he couldn't help frowning. This peach blossom forest was his forbidden area. Without his orders, no one could approach it. In the entire king's palace, there was no one that didn't know his rules. But who was this bold, daring to disobey his orders and sneak into his territory? He angrily opened his eyes and a young girl's beautiful back appeared in front of him. Her hair was like clouds, mist, and flowing water. She was taking a hairpin from a peach branch. Her long sleeves slid down, revealing her snow-white arms. After the hairpin was taken off, she slightly tilted her head, revealing half her face. Her lips curled up, Chu Xiaoyang, revealing a smile that was hard to describe. Chu Xiaoyang's body suddenly went numb like he had been struck by lightning. His mind was blank as he stared at the girl's back. She walked out of his sight like a lotus in the wind. After a long time, he suddenly came back to his senses. Who this young girl? Chu Xiaoyang felt that her back was a bit familiar, like he had seen her before, but he couldn't remember where. He jumped down from the tree and used his qin gong to chase after the girl in the direction she disappeared. When he chased them out of the garden, Chen Ning and Xiao Ru had already disappeared without a trace. Chu Xiaoyang stood at the door and looked into the distance. He saw the glow in the distance like a burning cloud. Thinking back to the figure he had just seen, it was like a dream. Chu Xiaoyang stood at the door and looked into the distance. He saw the red glow in the distance like a burning cloud. Thinking back to the figure he had just seen, it was like a dream. He stood there in a daze for a moment before turning back to the peach blossom forest. He swept his sleeves and the peach blossom petals fell to the ground without a sound. He stared at the flower buds and the faint smile on the young girl's face flashed in front of his eyes. Could it be that he really had a peach blossom dream? Of course, Chu Xiaoyang would never have dreamed that this unforgettable young girl was the one he hated to the bones and the one he had married to the heavens and earth, Qin Ning. Chapter 85. Returning to the room, Qin Ning had Xiao Ru take out the things she had prepared. It was 10 very strong fishing nets. Xiao Ru was filled with confusion. She could not understand what the young miss wanted to do. Could it be that she wanted to fish for money? But there was only a moat in the capital and there were no fish in the moat. Chen Ning sent Chun Tao and Xia He out and bolted the door. Then she personally climbed up the ladder and hung the nets one by one under the beam. There were many layers of nets, one layer after another. After finishing, she clapped her hands and looked up at her masterpiece. She revealed a satisfied smile. Now that she had laid down an inescapable net, she was just waiting for Chu Xiaobai to walk into it. As long as he dared to come at night, he would definitely fall into her net. Xiao Ru's mouth was wide open and she could not close it for a long time. "Young miss, you've hung all these nets up there. Are you worried that the roof tiles will fall?" she asked in a puzzled voice. "No." Chen Ning put away her smile and said in a serious voice, "Have you ever heard of a pie falling from the sky? I've prepared the nets and am preparing to catch a large pie." That night, Chen Ning slept very peacefully. When she opened her eyes, the sky was already bright. The nets hanging on the beams were still there, as if no one had touched them at all. The first thing she did after waking up was to look at herself in the mirror. When she saw that her face was clean and there were no animals drawn on it, her heart felt a faint sense of loss. Chu Xiaobai had not appeared for an entire night. Could it be that he had found the trap she had set up? Chen Ning shook her head in puzzlement, but she quickly threw this question to the back of her mind. She believed that even if Chu Xiaobai did not come last night or tonight, he would come one day. All she needed to do was to spread the net and wait quietly. After eating breakfast, she changed her clothes and painted her face yellow. Then she said to Xiao Ru, "Let's go, we're going out to earn some money." When Xiao Ru heard about earning money, her eyes lit up and she excitedly followed beside Chen Ning. Chen Ning took out the palace token and easily left the palace. "Young miss, are we still going to Tai He floor? You can write another recipe for the shopkeeper and earn 1,000 silver coins." Xiao Ru said with an excited expression. Chen Ning smiled as she pinched her nose. "Do you think your family's young miss sells recipes?" "Those 4 recipes were just something I coincidentally saw. If it was that easy to earn money, would your young miss need to go out and read people's fortunes?" She was a well-trained memory master from the modern era. She had an eidetic memory and had even built a memory palace in her brain. Aside from the high-intensity training, she also liked to read some random books in her free time. The recipes for these 4 dishes were found in one of the books, and they were left in the memory palace in her mind. She did not expect that after transmigrating, she would actually be able to sell it for 1,000 taels of silver. It could be considered an unexpected fortune. Xiao Xiao. As long as she walked this road once, Chen would not forget. Chen. She pulled Xiao Ru and turned east and west, quickly arriving at the street filled with people and business opportunities. The peddlers on the street set up their own stalls and shouted enthusiastically. Chapter 86. Xiao Ru looked over with a puzzled expression. She saw a large group of people gathering at the end of the street. She remembered that the last time she came here, there was clearly no one there. Xiao Ru, 1, 2, 3, turn around and run. Chen Ning did not say another word as she pulled Xiao Ru and ran. But it was too late. There were already people in the crowd that had discovered them. They pointed in their direction and said, "It's her." Then the group of people was like a large black cloud, charging right at them. Chen Ning and Xiao Ru had only run a few steps when they were caught up by the crowd and surrounded in the center. It's over, they couldn't run anymore. Chen Ning stopped moving. She decided to deal with the situation as it came. She slowly turned around and cupped her hands towards an old man who was panting as he rushed over. She greeted him with a smile. "Old uncle, I haven't seen you in 2 days. You look even more spirited and healthy." That old man was the one she stopped on the street with a basket of eggs the day before yesterday. After listening to her eloquent words, he willingly took out 10 taels of silver as a thank you gift. So when she saw the old man and the large group of people behind him, her heart trembled. Her intuition told her that this was bad and she immediately ran, but she never thought that she would not be able to escape. Her first reaction was that something must have happened to the old man's fat son, so the old man had brought people to settle accounts with her. But now that she couldn't run, she could only take it one step at a time. She could only try to stall for time. The old man was panting as he ran, but it wasn't easy for him to catch his breath. His hands were on his hips as he glared at Chen Ning with a fierce look on his face. "Hey, little girl, why are you running? Do you think we are tigers or lions that can eat you?" Chen Ning giggled and said, "Old uncle, you misunderstood. I saw that you were here, so I wanted to borrow a bench from the nearby carpentry shop for you to sit on." She did not even blink as she said this lie. But the old man clearly did not fall for it and gave a heavy snort. Chen Ning continued to smile. Her eyes were a bit weak as she looked around at the people around her. Are these old uncle's relatives? No. The old man shook his head and said, "They are all looking for you." "Looking for me?" Chen Ning was stunned. Then she gave a bitter smile and said, "I don't know them, so why are they looking for me?" She muttered in her heart. If these people were really the old man's relatives looking for her, then she would only need a punch from each of them and she would not be able to walk away. "Divine Fortune Girl, this one is looking for you to have your fortune read." A burly man puffed out his chest and spoke in a loud and coarse voice. His voice was like a great bell, and it was extremely loud and clear the moment he spoke. That's right, that's right. Divine fortune-telling girl, uncle, he said that your fortune-telling is very accurate. Can you help me read my words?" A thin monkey-like middle-aged man asked. "We've been waiting here for 2 days and we've finally waited for Divine Fortune Girl. Divine Fortune Girl, Divine Fortune Girl, Divine Fortune, and Divine Fortune." Everyone surrounded Chen Ning in the center, talking at the same time, chattering away. Chen could not. Chen Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes at the sky. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing everyone's aggressive stance, it didn't seem like they were looking for her to have their fortunes read. It was clear they were looking for her life, almost scaring her to the point of cramping. Chapter 87. The old uncle surnamed, he reached out his hands to stop her. He turned around and stroked his beard as he revealed a smile to Chen Ning. "Divine fortune-telling girl, it's like this. That day you helped my son read his fortune and fortune. This old man will be honest, I was only half convinced by what you said and didn't believe it at all." Chen Ning nodded and revealed a faint smile, waiting for him to continue. However, when it comes to fortune-telling, it's better to believe it's true than not. Thus, when I returned, I changed my son's name. I used the word Qing that Miss mentioned and added it into the family tree. That night, in the middle of the night, my son was crying as usual, making it so noisy that I couldn't sleep. Thus, I thought of the method you taught me and mixed some yellow soil with water to feed him. I didn't expect that after drinking the water, he actually slept until dawn. Moreover, he slept very peacefully. This is something that has never happened before. When old uncle he said this, he gave a few chuckles before continuing. This old man was surprised and happy, so I told this matter to the surrounding relatives and neighbors. They all refused to believe me and said that this old man had met a swindler. This old man was not convinced, so I brought them to find divine fortune-telling girl, wanting to show them your skills. I never thought that after waiting for an entire day, you still wouldn't come. This time, they did not believe this old man's words and insisted that this young lady was a swindler. Chen Ning nodded and said, and then. Her eyes swept over the surroundings. She saw that some people had ashamed expressions, some people had mocking looks, and some people raised their eyebrows. She had an idea in her heart. This old man won't argue with them. They don't believe in divine fortune-telling girl's skills, but this old man is convinced. So this morning, this old man brought everyone here to wait for you. Finally, divine fortune-telling girl has arrived. Miss, if you don't show your skills, then this old man will be treated as an old fool by them. After saying this, old uncle he looked at the people around him and gave a heavy snort. So it was like this. Chen Ning let out a soft sigh. Her eyes turned and she smiled at everyone. So you're saying that you're all here to find me for fortune-telling? Yes. Everyone nodded. But there are so many of you, who should I tell first? Chen Ning knit her brows and revealed an awkward expression. When everyone heard this, it was like a pot had exploded. Tell me first, tell me first. I was here first, let me go first. I'm the first one. Everyone's faces turned red as they argued, as if they were about to fight. Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile and raised her voice to say, everyone, don't be so anxious, listen to me. When she spoke, everyone immediately shut their mouths and the noisy scene instantly quieted down. Everyone's eyes were all staring at Ruo Shui, waiting for her to speak. At this moment, in addition to the people who were looking for her to have their fortunes read, there were also many people who were watching the bustling scene. The entire street was blocked, and many of the peddlers were complaining. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Ruo Shui coughed lightly and said calmly, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the downtown area where people do business. With so many of us here, it's not good to delay other people's business. Why don't we go to a place with fewer people? Everyone, line up, and I'll read your fortune one by one. How about that?" Chapter 88. As soon as Chen Ning's voice fell, she saw the surrounding people all turn around and run towards the corner of the street. They were all running faster than rabbits. Xiao Ru looked at this scene in amazement. Her heart was filled with an indescribable admiration. The young miss really had her ways. With just a single sentence, she was able to convince several dozen people. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at the line of people quickly forming at the corner of the street. Her eyes lit up as she silently counted on her fingers. 1 person 10 silvers, 2 people 20 silvers, 3 people 30 silvers. It was like there were countless silver bills in front of her eyes. Very quickly, she would once again have cramps from counting money. She was so happy that her eyes narrowed. Paw! Chen Ning slapped the back of her head, waking this little girl up from her fantasies. Little girl, what are you thinking about? Why aren't you going to the carpentry shop from last time to rent a table? It was like Xiao Ru had just woken up from a dream. She happily ran over to the carpentry shop. Chen Ning smiled as she walked to the corner of the street, but her heart was not as relaxed as it looked. This was because she knew that out of the large group of people looking for her to read their fortunes, most of them were here to cause trouble for her. They were here to laugh at her. If she was the slightest bit careless and was caught by these people, she was afraid that she would not be able to make a comeback. The line was very long, it actually went from the end of the street to the end of the street. It was double the number of people from before. Many of them were here to watch the fun, but there were also some who were here to cause trouble. When Xiao Ru, who was carrying the tables and chairs, saw this scene, she was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. The first person in the line was the man with a loud voice and a round waist. He had a tall stature and with a wave of his arms, he threw everyone else behind him. No one could compete with him. He sat down in front of Chen Ning. Chen Ning smiled and said, "This big brother, do you want to read your fortune or read your fortune?" The man stretched out his large palm and placed it on the table. He said in a rough voice, "I don't know how to read, so you can read my palm." "All right." Chen Ning happily agreed. She had never read her palm before, but that did not mean she did not know how to act. "This big brother, what do you want to read?" Chen Ning asked with a smile. "I'm already 23 this year, but I haven't found a wife yet. You can read my fortune and see when I can marry a beautiful wife." The man said with a laugh. As soon as he said this, the surrounding people began to boo. Someone couldn't help but say, "I say, little brother, are you looking at a person's physiognomy or a matchmaking session?" "She's a fortune teller, not a matchmaker." "That's right." If fortune telling could tell when you'll find a wife, why would you need a matchmaker? Aren't you just making things difficult for me? That's right. You're not here to have your fortune told. You're here to make trouble. Some of the onlookers couldn't stand it anymore and started to criticize the man. However, the man glared at the crowd and shouted arrogantly, "Why can't I figure it out? If she couldn't even calculate this, how could she be called a fortune teller? Just pack up your stall and get lost." He turned to look at Chen Ning and forcefully slapped the table. "Tell me, can it be calculated or not?" "Very good." The first person they met was such a tough one. Chapter 89. I can calculate it, of course I can calculate it. Chen Ning smiled and nodded. Hearing this, the burly man revealed a complacent smile. He glanced around and said, "Did you hear that clearly? The girl said she can calculate it." Everyone revealed a surprised expression. Over 100 pairs of eyes stared at Chen Ning without blinking, wanting to see how she would calculate it. Chen Ning was not in a rush. Her eyes first looked over the man's face and then slightly looked down. She looked over the man's clothes without anyone noticing, and then her eyes fell onto his palm. This was a farmer's hand. The bones were thick and the skin was rough. The palm was covered in calluses, but it was washed clean and there was no dirt under the nails. She stared at the man's palm for a while, not saying a single word. The man began to become impatient. The people around them began to whisper and point at Chen Ning. "If you can't calculate it, then say it. Stop pretending and wasting this one's time. I think you're just a swindler." The man shouted out without any trace of politeness. Hearing this, Chen Ning suddenly raised her head, a pair of clear and spirited eyes stared straight at the man. "Your surname is Xiao, right?" She didn't say anything, but once she did, she shocked the world. The man's eyebrows jumped, and his but almost rolled off the stool. "How do you know my surname is Xiao?" he shouted. These words without a doubt admitted that what Chen Ning said was true. Everyone let out a wang, wang sound as they revealed looks of disbelief. Chen Ning gave a gentle laugh in her heart. When she looked over, she noticed that the man had accidentally lifted a corner of his clothes and had a crooked Zhao word embroidered on it. She wasn't blind, so how could she not see it? She stared at the man's hand and slowly said, "Your surname is Zhao and you were originally farming in the countryside, living a hard life. You don't have a father and only have a mother, but her eyes are not good. In the last 2 years, you've made a fortune, so you bought a house in the city and moved there. Big brother Zhao, is my calculation correct?" As she said this, the man's mouth fell open. When Chen Ning finished speaking, his mouth was already wide enough to fit a large duck egg inside. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. "Right, everything is correct. But you. How do you know everything? You've seen me and my mother before." The man's surname Zhao's heart could no longer be described as shocked. His eyes looking at Chen Ning were filled with admiration and awe. This was because Chen Ning had described his family situation perfectly, as if she had seen it with her own eyes. His name was Zhao Ergo, and he was not originally from the capital. Instead, he owned 2 mu of land outside the city, and his family had been farming for generations. Not long after he was born, his father died of a serious illness, leaving his mother to painstakingly raise him. She barely made ends meet by sewing clothes for others. There was no man in the family, so he had to do farm work when he was young. The 2 mu of land was only enough to make a living. Sometimes, it was not even enough to fill his stomach. His mother was half blind because she sewed under the dim oil lamp all year round. Perhaps the heavens pitied the orphan and widowed mother. 2 years ago, when he was hoeing the fields, he accidentally dug up an antique jar. When he opened it, he found that it was filled with gold ingots. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.